This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 5th of May. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua.
Make no mistake, this crisis, it's a crisis for all of us. It is a test of our values. Values that aren't guaranteed. They are earned.
So, breaking in the last hour, Sir Keir Starmer's crackdown on anti-Semitism intensifies as the Prime Minister pledges more support for Jewish communities across the country. He also had this stark warning for Iran and other countries inciting violence and anti-Semitism.
Our message to Iran or to any other country that might seek to foment violence, hatred or division in society is that it will not be tolerated.
And there's border disorder. Yes, small boat migrant arrivals are on course to hit 200,000 since the crisis began. That's the equivalent to a city the size of Norwich arriving since 2018. Nearly 900 more arrived over the weekend alone.
And as we approach that grim milestone, perhaps the French police are getting a bit more robust. They've been slashing boats over the weekend. Human rights charities have criticised them. We'll bring you the exclusive video.
Straight standoff. President Donald Trump says that US forces have shot down another 7 Iranian fast boats as the tensions in the Middle East escalate. Ceasefire? What ceasefire?
Have a nuclear weapon where you'd have problems like nobody would believe.
McCann suspect extradition plan. Yes, detectives push to bring Madeleine McCann's prime suspect to Britain and put him on trial here, 20 years after she went missing.
Cruise holiday horror. World Health Organization medics have now boarded the cruise ship where a deadly virus has left 3 dead and a British passenger fighting for their life. After a Hunter virus outbreak on board, we will bring you all the details.
And costly foreign criminals. New analysis by GB News has revealed foreign criminals housed in Britain's prisons are costing taxpayers £630 million a year. Official figures showing around 1 in 8 of the total prison population are foreign national offenders.
We do appreciate what they do for us when we do come over here because they treat us like royalty.
And a moment of honour and remembrance as Second World War veterans are in the Netherlands marking their Liberation Day, the holiday celebrating the Allies sweeping the Nazis out on the 5th of May in 1945. See, I don't get it. 630 million on foreign prisoners. You know where they've come from. Send them back. Let them do it there. I don't. Why are we? Oh, you've been really bad. We're going to put you in prison, and then when you come out, you possibly have the option of staying. But you could clear off. You've broken the law. You're from another country. It's not on.
I suppose the argument here is that in some of their countries, maybe these crimes aren't punished as harshly. Maybe some of them aren't punished at all. I mean, we know that when in Iran the revolution happened, they lowered the age of consent in marriage to 9 years old.
You know what?
So some of these
that would be very
criminals...
rare, because in this country nobody gets punished, do they, Mark? Do people seem to be getting away with anything and everything, don't they?
Well, and I think your argument is, you know, their interpretation of what our law is and whether they did wrong in their own eyes. It's not whether we as a country should be kicking people out who clearly have done wrong in our eyes. Yeah. And the fact is, well, some of those are from countries where it's very difficult to return them to, if they're from Iran or Afghanistan.
I don't know if these people would end up... So if someone has done some horrific crime...
Yeah.
Shouldn't we want them behind bars?
No.
Might it not be letting them off if they are then free to roam around in the country they came from?
So you'd rather pay for them then in this country? No. I would send them back, and they're not allowed to come back here.
But then there's the potential that they would have a free life. Well, a life to go out and do more crime.
Well, no, they might not get as harsh a sentence. I presume they will be punished. It might not be as harsh. But on the other hand, then we have to pay for them forever, or however long that is. Forget it. It should go. Sorry,
well, lots to discuss there. Do get your thoughts in. gbnews.com/your say on what can be done with the growing migrant crime problem. I mean, I suppose one of the answers is to not let in criminals in the first place. But that seems to be beyond the auspices of this particular government.
Well, and the one before that, actually, to be fair. But before all of that, let's get your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after midday, the top story this hour, Sir Keir Starmer is warning Iran and any other state not to fuel hatred, violence or division on Britain's streets. The Prime Minister made the comments at a Downing Street summit earlier on anti-Semitism after the Golders Green terror attack and a suspected arson at a former synagogue in East London. He told leaders from policing, universities, businesses and the arts that extra security is necessary but cannot be the whole answer. Universities are being told to publish the scale of anti-Semitism on campus and what they're doing about it. Meanwhile, arts bodies are also being warned that public money must not be used to platform anti-Semitism, with funding potentially being withdrawn. Well, the Prime Minister has said that the response cannot simply be about protecting Jewish communities after attacks happen.
Security is essential, but that is not enough. We must also deal with the forces that drive this hatred in the first place. So we're confronting them directly. One of the lines of inquiry is whether a foreign state has been behind some of these incidents. We're investigating, of course, all the possibilities. And we're clear that these actions will have consequences if that proves to be the case.
In other news this afternoon, Iran says fresh clashes with the United States in the Gulf show there is no military solution to the war. The confrontation follows American efforts to escort commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, the key route for global energy supplies. Tehran warns US forces risk being dragged into what it calls a quagmire. But Donald Trump has issued his own warning, telling Fox News overnight that if any US ships are targeted, Iran will be blown off the face of the earth. Almost 900 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel since Friday, taking total arrivals to within one boatload of 200,000 since the crisis began. It comes as this new footage appears to show French police taking a tough approach on beaches of northern France. The video shows officers slashing dinghies as they try to leave the beach, a tactic French police have previously warned can be dangerous once boats are in the water. Charities and human rights groups have also criticised the approach, saying it could put lives at risk. But supporters argue stronger action is needed on the French side before boats reach the Channel. 3 people have died after a hantavirus outbreak on board a cruise ship anchored off Cape Verde. The World Health Organization has confirmed the virus in 2 people, with 5 more suspected cases, while a British man remains in intensive care. Medical teams have now boarded the vessel to evacuate 2 people needing urgent treatment. The ship's operator says 2 crew members, 1 British and 1 Dutch, have acute respiratory symptoms. Hantavirus is usually spread by rodents, but the WHO says it has been told there are no rats on board, but the risk to the wider public remains low. And Manchester Airport has been ranked the worst in the UK for flight delays. Analysis of Civil Aviation Authority data shows departures were delayed by an average of 19.5 minutes last year. That's longer than any other major UK airport, despite a slight improvement on the year before. Which Travel says passengers may struggle to book with confidence if performance does not improve. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour. Next, though, a look at the midday markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And just gone 9 minutes past 12, the markets for you. The pound will buy $1.35 and 1.15 euros. The price of gold is £3,554 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is currently at 10,596 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Just played it.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past midday. Now, Sir Keir Starmer cracks down on anti-Semitism as he pledges stronger support for Jewish communities across the country.
He described the situation as a crisis for all. Let's have a listen to what he said earlier.
Make no mistake, this crisis, it's a crisis for all of us. It is a test of our values. Values that aren't guaranteed, they are earned.
Well, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, has also shared his concerns on the growing number of anti-Semitic incidents across the country.
We need to make it a safe place for our Jewish friends. It is quite outrageous, these attacks on synagogues from Manchester to London, and now these other terrorist incidences. We need to make sure that the police are doing everything they can, the security services are doing everything they can, and we tackle this problem at its root, where people are getting away with saying horrible, hateful things.
Well, our political editor is currently in a briefing with the Prime Minister's spokesperson, and he'll give us the latest as soon as he is out of there.
But moving on now, the small boats crisis is closing in on 200,000 crossings after another 800 arrivals this weekend.
Now, the milestone ramps up pressure on Sir Keir Starmer, with critics claiming that Labour has lost control of the borders.
Well, our Home and Security editor, Mark White, is with us here in the studio. Mark, it is extraordinary, this threshold, this total, in just 8 years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the weekend, the bank holiday weekend, add yesterday's total in there as well, takes you to 900 who've crossed in that short period. And yes, we're just about a boatload or just over away from that 200,000 mark. Probably not going to get that figure until Thursday or Friday of this week, when the weather conditions are due to improve again with more boat crossings. As sure as night follows day, that's what we always see. But we've obtained some exclusive video, actually, that maybe shows that the French police are, after many years of saying they wouldn't go into the water to slash boats, getting a bit more robust in doing that. If you take a look at these images, these are French police officers running towards this boat at Oy Plage, just near Calais, running up to the boat, slashing it, and then migrants jumping off, obviously, as that boat starts to sink. Now, the French police had always maintained that actually when the boat hits the water, it's too dangerous to do that. But really, is it? Well, you can see it's not, because they're ankle deep in water, basically. And so the French seized the opportunity, ran up to this and slashed it. That was one boat that's not heading to the UK. Interestingly, Utopia 56, who filmed this, one of their activists on the beach there, condemned the French tactics as being dangerous. It's interesting that they don't condemn the migrants themselves for embarking on what would be a much more dangerous endeavour, which is crossing the English Channel in a boat stuffed to the gunwale, full of them, in a boat that is not at all designed to take that crossing. And we saw just at the weekend there 2 other migrants who died when their boat got into difficulties down south of Boulogne.
It's typical, it's winning because they probably got trampled on by the men, and that's
often the way. Yeah, in the middle of these boats often give way, and there's so many people stuffed on a boat. We believe there was 82 that sometimes they can get, trampled on. We don't know exactly how these 2 female migrants died, but that was the latest death toll. As I say, though, the charities are condemning the police, who are trying to do their level best, it seems, maybe belatedly, to stop them embarking on that dangerous journey in the first place.
Well, can we push back then on these charities for a second?
I thought the numbers were coming down, though. I thought that was... the government appeared to be telling us that the numbers were coming down.
The numbers are down on where we were at this point last year, but there's a lot of factors at play here, and the weather, in our opinion, we monitor this very regularly, is the biggest factor at play here. We'll see how it plays out, because when you get to the flat, calm spells of weather where you can have a run of 7 days or more of good weather, you can see that 35% down on last year narrow very significantly. So we'll see that. If it continues to be that level throughout the year, then perhaps the government have a point. Perhaps this kind of activity that we're viewing here, slashing the boats and being more robust on the beaches, is kind of scattering the people smugglers and making it a bit difficult for them. All I would say, though, with regard to what you're seeing here, is this is not stopping them, it's only ever delaying them by a day or two, because they meet up with another smuggling gang and then they just try again.
Well, Mark White, thank you very much indeed. Now, when challenged on the matter earlier, the Housing Secretary Steve Reid... Goodness me.
Freudian slip there.
Did he? No, I don't think he did. No, Steve Reid blamed the previous Conservative government.
And they're holier than thou on this issue. When their MPs were in government, they got it badly wrong and the crisis ran out of control. We are getting a grip on it. Is it fast enough? We want to go faster.
All right, so that was Steve Reid earlier in response. Right, if you just tuned in, welcome aboard. This is Good Afternoon Britain. It is fast approaching 17 minutes after midday.
Well, 3 people have died and a British passenger remains in intensive care after a suspected hantavirus outbreak on board the cruise ship in the Atlantic.
Now, with the World Health Organization warning about transmission risks, medics have boarded the vessel as authorities scramble to contain the situation and support those on board.
Well, joining us is our health editor, Lucy Johnston. Lucy, we spoke about this a little bit yesterday, but for those who weren't watching, what is hantavirus and how can you catch it?
Hantavirus is a very deadly virus that you catch from breathing in the aerosolized particles of rodent excreta, so rodent feces, urine and saliva. And these World Health Organization and various health authorities are trying to trace the strain, they're trying to trace the source of this. They believe that it could have been from an excursion from the trip. 2 of the passengers we now know travelled in Argentina, where there's a strain. There are many versions of this, but there's an Andes strain of hantavirus, which is among the most deadly strains, and that affects the lungs. So they're watching very carefully, and there will be weeks or days before blood test results come back to confirm whether it is that strain, and that would give us some more clues about where this came from. We've just had some breaking news now. The ship has said that there are no rats on board, so they are telling the World Health Organization that. But if it is this Andes strain, there is some reports in the medical literature that it could be transmitted between humans with prolonged contact. So perhaps a husband and wife or people on ships are together for long periods of time indoors. So there are questions there, though they are still saying, the World Health Organization is still saying that is not as likely as transmission from the rodents, from the excreta of the rodents. So they're watching it very, very closely, and they're trying very hard to find out the source of it. They're also trying to get on board to get 2 of those passengers off who are ill. Cape Verde authorities have not allowed the passengers onto the island there. So the latest reports are that that ship will travel for 3 days to the Canary Islands, where those passengers can be disembarked. So those people on that ship are probably really very scared. We've had some reports from within the ship. There's one American vlogger who sent out a tearful to Instagram post saying, we're not just headlines, we have families to go to. They've been confined to their cabins, and it's horrendous for them.
What are the symptoms of the virus, and what is the treatment? Is there a vaccine? Is it curable at all?
Well, there is no vaccine and there is no specific treatment. And the problem is it can take up to 8 weeks for the incubation period. Normally not that long, but initially the symptoms of this particular strain are sort of flu-like. So you just get temperature, you feel achy, and you feel sick and tired, and muscles will start to hurt. And after that, this particular strain causes the lungs to fill with fluid. That actually, the virus causes damage to the vessels in the lungs, and that will cause lung and heart failure. And it is really urgent. There's an up to 40% fatality rate. So the treatment is, if you can get the treatment early enough and get proper care, and you haven't got underlying health conditions, you get a drip, you get breathing support, and you get intensive care, and you can make a complete recovery, but you need the treatment.
Well, goodness, absolutely horrendous. But I do understand the position of Cape Verde not wanting all of these passengers. We don't know if they've got the virus or not. We don't know if it can be transmitted between humans.
They can't come off the ship.
They can't come off the ship.
That's not.
Well, they could screen them. Yeah, they could screen them. There's a lot of scientists have been very angry about this, saying these people need urgent care, and if they, they're going to get off somewhere, and they could screen them, test them, or put them in quarantine. There are ways of doing it. Other people have gone off the street, and there's a British man now in Johannesburg in intensive care. So there are ways of doing things, but I think Cape Verde's medical system, maybe they don't feel it's sophisticated enough, or maybe they're worried about rats getting on. I don't know what they're worried about, but
I think I'd get somebody independent to check that ship for rats, though, just to be fair.
And it might make more sense, the Canary Islands being a bit more developed than Cape Verde. They might have better medical facilities in order to conduct those sorts of tests. Lucy Johnson, thanks indeed for explaining this concerning situation. I know there's a huge amount of interest in it. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Lucy. A spokesperson for the UK Foreign Office has said that we are closely monitoring reports of potential hantavirus outbreak on the cruise ship Hondas, and stand ready to support British nationals if needed. We're in touch with the cruise company and local authorities.
Well, in other news now, British Second World War veterans are being honoured in the Netherlands today, as the Dutch thank them for helping to liberate their country from Nazi occupation on this day in 1945.
Well, a huge parade is currently taking place with 100,000 Dutch people lining the streets to thank our British veterans. Well, Will Godley is there for us. Will Godley, what more can you tell us?
Exactly. Well, good afternoon to both of you. That parade ongoing at the moment, but the British veterans been invited now to a very, very special lunch to honour them and thank them for the role that they played back in World War II. Let's now speak to Bill Puckett. You served in World War II. What do you remember 81 years ago today when the Netherlands was liberated?
Well, I think, well, you've been out,
What's your memories back then?
Oh. Well, the idea was that it seems a bit strange, trying to find what it would be, but I couldn't wait to get in, and I joined the Royal Navy when I was 17, because my father went down with a ship in 1941, and I couldn't wait to follow it through, and I finished up blowing up wrecks all in the channel, and my dad's on one.
Wow.
Because he went down with a ship. in 1941. And it seems strange that I should be put in the same position as he was at the time when it really got mattered, you know.
And now you're here 81 years later, you're 98 years old now. How did you feel today to experience this whole parade?
What do you mean now?
Today, yeah, with everything that's happened today.
Oh, this was unbelievable. The amount of people, you know, you imagine people being at the roadside, but not that deep and that thick and that dense as you went round, and everyone was shouting and hollering about greeting you. You know, and it was great. You know, it's unbelievable to think that the children that all were taken out, like, and to see the way they are grateful for the way it went from the result of the war. It was something that you enjoy meeting them at the roadside, and I think that's great.
Amazing. Well, Bill, thanks very much for joining us on GB News. It was an amazing experience earlier on today, and right now the veterans here can be honoured with an equally as amazing lunch, I'm told.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
No, what a moment to honour those veterans. And I think I spied a pint on that table.
Oh, good.
I think I absolutely need a lunchtime pint or two to celebrate all that they did.
Well, if you just joined us 25 minutes after midday, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, the McCann suspect extradition plan. Detectives are pushing to bring Madeleine McCann's prime suspect to Britain and put him on trial here 20 years after she went missing.
But after the break, costly foreign criminals. New analysis by GB News has revealed that foreign criminals housed in Britain's prisons are costing taxpayers £630 million per year. Official figures showing around 1 in 8 of the total prison population are foreign national offenders.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. New analysis reveals foreign criminals are costing UK taxpayers nearly £630 million a year, with more than 10,000 behind bars.
Well, the government says it's stepping up deportations, but is it enough to ease the strain?
Well, we're joined now by Reform UK's junior justice advisor, either not junior, crikey, Vanessa Frake. Vanessa, welcome to the programme. Vanessa, honestly, how could I? So talk to us, Vanessa. Why is there such a problem, and what would you do if you were, say, in charge of looking after what happens to the prisons?
Good afternoon to you both, and thank you for the compliment there, Nana, being junior. That's lovely. Look, you know, the cost to this country for foreign national prisoners is staggering. And, you know, it's a very long, drawn-out process, which kind of goes from three main areas. And the problems is lack of identity documents for these people. Quite often they get rid of their passports, so the Home Office then has to write to the country that they originate from, and that process is very slow. Sometimes the country refuses. And there are, of course, our wonderful ECHR claims, those under Article 8, right to life, right to family, for those who have family in this country. And of course, there is administration errors, of course, as well, which recently the Chief Inspector of Immigration criticised the Home Office for their keeping of paperwork. And, you know, it is an incredibly slow process, and it hasn't really speeded up, although the government has tried to, they've just done a deal with Albania to send 200 prisoners back there. But, you know, that comes with certain conditions. So, like improving their prison service, giving them electric Volkswagens, et cetera, et cetera.
Sorry, Vanessa, giving the prisoners electric cars?
No. The Albanians, I think they've sent them something like 25 VW electric cars.
To use in their police forces?
Yes. So to help them accommodate, but you know, it costs something like £109 a day in this country to keep a foreign national in prison, and we're going to give the Albanians £32 a day. So although it's there, it's still not quick.
And Vanessa, sorry, to be clear, this is Britain paying for these people in Albanian prisons, even though presumably they're Albanian nationals.
Absolutely. And Albania, interestingly enough, is the country that we have the most foreign national prisoners from. Then comes Ireland, and then Poland. And there are others, of course, but they are the three main countries of origin of our foreign national prisoners. So, yes, so we're not going to get away with it by just putting them on a plane, and we've got to persuade these countries to take these individuals back. And the problem is many of them don't want to.
Of course they wouldn't. Why would you want to have convicts coming back to your country? Vanessa Frake, thank you very much. She's Reform UK's Justice Advisor.
It is fascinating how much difficulty we have sending people to different countries. I know that one of the Baltic countries offered some prison spaces when we were almost at the brim of overcrowding in British prisons. And no one could be sent there because of the visitation rights.
No, it's just
so every prisoner has a right for their friends and family to visit them, and the British state didn't want to fund all the flights out to the Baltic countries and back.
I just find it all a bit ridiculous. But anyway, a Ministry of Justice spokesperson said that the government's record on deporting foreign national offenders speaks for itself, with more than 8,700 removed since July 2024, up 32% on the 19 months prior.
Continued, we're also changing the law so foreign prisoners can be deported earlier than ever before as we restore order and control our borders.
All right, well, stay with us because it's just gone 33 minutes after midday. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Blair blasts net zero again. Yes, Sir Tony says Britain risks falling behind global competitors like the US and China thanks to Ed Miliband's net zero drive. He says that we must abandon our climate first, climate only approach in favour of cheap and reliable energy. Well, is he right?
Gosh, who knew? Well, all of that and much more after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. 12:30, the headlines this hour. Sir Keir Starmer has warned Iran not to fuel hatred or violence on Britain's streets. At a Downing Street summit on anti-Semitism, he said recent attacks show the response has to go beyond guards, patrols and extra funding. He says the causes of anti-Jewish hatred now have to be tackled at source. 3 people have died after a virus outbreak on board a cruise ship anchored off Cape Verde. The World Health Organisation's confirmed 2 cases of hantavirus, with 5 more suspected. The British man remains in intensive care as medics have boarded the ship to evacuate passengers needing urgent care. Iran has claimed clashes with the United States in the Gulf, prompted by American efforts to escort commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, show there's no military solution to the war. Tehran warned US forces will be dragged back into a quagmire. But last night, President Donald Trump said that if any US ships are targeted, the Iranians will be blown off the face of the earth. Almost 900 illegal migrants have now crossed the Channel since Friday, taking the total number of arrivals close to 200,000 since the crisis began. It comes as footage appears to show French police slashing dinghies as they attempt to leave northern France. Charities, though, and human rights groups have criticised the tactic, warning it could put lives at risk. And Manchester Airport's been ranked the worst in the UK for flight delays. Analysis shows departures were almost 20 minutes late on average last year. The report says that delays are often caused by weather, air traffic control disruption and wider global issues. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup with the lunchtime news at 1.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you, Sam. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, our political editor has just left a briefing with the Prime Minister's official spokesman. Stay tuned to hear what he has to say.
And all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A lot of dry weather today for many of us, a lot of cloud as well, and there will be showers in places, but nothing especially heavy or prolonged. Essentially, we're in between weather systems at the moment. Low pressure to one side, high pressure to the other, and as a result, a bit of a weak northerly wind, but these are light winds, and as a result, where the sun does come through, it's going to feel very pleasant. And there will be some sunny spells, especially towards the south of the UK, far north of Scotland, although in the north of Scotland, that's where the heaviest of the showers will be. And there'll be some season snow showers over the tops of the Scottish mountains because it is turning colder. But, well, like I say, where the sun comes through, it's going to feel pleasant enough with light winds. However, there will be a lot of cloud around. We keep that cloud as we go into the evening. Largely dry for southern counties of England, as well as for Wales, just the odd shower. We've got this line of showers through the day and into the evening across parts of the Midlands, into northwest England, southwest Scotland. That's drifting slowly southwestwards. And then it's in the far north of Scotland where we've got the heaviest showers. But again, these will be on and off, very hit and miss, in between some brighter spells. Overnight, not a great deal changes. We keep these areas of cloud across England and Wales in particular, clearer skies towards the northeast of the UK, and some showers here and there, especially for this time parts of Wales, Northern Ireland and the south and southwest. Now, where we've got those clear skies for Scotland and northern England, it's going to be a chilly start to the day on Wednesday with a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, otherwise milder where we've got the cloudier start for Wales and the southwest, as well as for Northern Ireland. Some showers to start the day here, and mostly the showers become confined to Pembrokeshire, the far southwest of England, Northern Ireland, and one or two into the east of England. A lot of cloud here, brighter skies for Scotland, although feeling a little bit colder.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A9 is restricted due to a contraflow system between Crossgates and Perth. In Lancashire, the M6 northbound between junctions 27 and 28 remains partly closed with one lane shut after a vehicle left the carriageway. Normal conditions are expected between 1:30 and 1:45. The M5 southbound entry Slip Road at junction 22 in Somerset is fully closed until 4:45 due to a serious collision. And on the trains, major disruption continues on the Gatwick Express, while Grand Central reports severe delays. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just gone 39 minutes after midday, and some breaking news to bring you. Counter-terrorism policing London are investigating an arson incident at a former synagogue in East London.
Well, joining us now is GB News reporter Charlie Peters. Charlie, this just keeps happening.
Well, Tom, yes, in the morning that Sir Keir Starmer is hosting that anti-Semitism summit in Downing Street, there has been a suspected arson attack here at the old East London Central Synagogue. Behind me at about 5:10 this morning, Metropolitan Police said they received calls about an incident here and responded accordingly. And speaking to some locals around the area earlier today, they told me that they were woken up at this incident at around 5 a.m. and one man here said that his neighbour saw something take place. Now, the Metropolitan Police have said that counter-terror policing are leading this investigation, that as a consequence of what they had seen on CCTV, they were investigating a suspected arson attack, which they said was started intentionally at approximately 5:10 this morning, the incident being treated as arson. And given the nature of the incident and the location being a former synagogue, that is being led by counter-terrorism policing. Now, the building behind me, it's very visibly Jewish. There's a large Star of David on the door, but there hasn't been any Jewish services taking place here for a number of years. The ceiling and the interior collapsed in 2020. No services since then. And the building did actually go up on auction early this year, purchased by a Muslim group looking to convert it into a mosque. And there's no visible damage on the outside of the synagogue. Reports that this fire was started just outside the gates. We have seen some policing and also some London Fire Brigade activity here in the late morning and into early this afternoon. We've seen several individuals in forensic suits entering the synagogue to try and work out what has taken place here. But as you say, Tom and Nana, this comes after a spate of recent incidents, and because of this pattern that's emerging, we have heard from Detective Chief Superintendent Brittany Clark, who leads policing in the area, saying that because this building hasn't been operational for some time, that will not be of much comfort to the Jewish community in Tower Hamlets, Hackney and beyond. They've also said that there'll be an increased surge in patrols in the area in the coming days. We've also heard from Commander Helen Flanagan, who's the head of counter-terrorism policing, which is of course leading the investigation. She said that this follows on a number of arsons and attempted arsons targeting Jewish Londoners in the northwest of the city, and they're considering any potential links as their investigation gets underway. That investigation continuing here at Whitechapel in East London.
All right, Charlie Peters, thank you very much.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's plenty more still to come on today's programme.
Yes, the McCann suspect extradition plan. Detectives pushed to bring Madeleine McCann's prime suspect to Britain and put him on trial 20 years after she went missing.
But now, if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, here's the forecast in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
If you're heading to northern Italy or southern France, then expect some thunderstorms over the next few days. But for most of the Mediterranean, it's set to stay fair and dry and mostly sunny. Although temperatures will be a little bit below par for the time of year, it should still feel pleasantly warm in the sunshine across Portugal and Spain. We do run into those heavy showers, though, for the Balkans and particularly northern parts of Italy. But further south, many parts of Greece and Turkey will be turning increasingly dry over the next few days, with some sunshine around as well. And temperatures around average, so feeling warm in the sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Stop. We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi Martin, we're here with Mr. Mervyn Kirsch, World War II veteran, a decorated World War II veteran who has served this country bravely during his time in Normandy, storming the beaches of Normandy, and last week he was recognised by King Charles with the British Empire Medal Award. First of all, Mr. Kirsch, how did you feel? How was all of that for you? Must have been a great honour.
It was a great honour. I wasn't invested by King Charles, by his Lord Lieutenant, which is something I never heard of. But I went to the Tower of London and I didn't know quite what condition I'd come back in. But I still think this country is one of the best, if not the best, most consistent anyway.
So do you think Britain is a country worth fighting for?
I think it still is, but it's not the country, fighting for our own lives. Everyone here is. The word country is a collective. Sounds nice, the crown or the king. It is collective. But it's the people, the whole group of people, that are having millions around now, about 70, 80 million in the country.
And obviously today we're celebrating St. George's Day. What does St. George's Day mean to you?
Well, that symbolises, it's pretty old. I don't know which King George it was a long time ago. But it is a symbol of British unity. And it brings people together. Or it should do.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 47 minutes past 12, or indeed 13 minutes to 1. Now, the Metropolitan Police are seeking for the Madeleine McCann suspect, Christian Bruckner, to face a British trial.
It comes ahead of the 20th anniversary of Madeleine's disappearance next year.
Well, the only thing that stands in their way is the German constitution, which prevents the extradition of its citizens to non-EU countries.
So joining us now is Foreign Assistant Chief Constable of Westminster's Police, Timothy Brain. Timothy, oh dear, I mean, we're just talking about foreign nationals, but he committed a crime against a British person, or allegedly, that's what people are saying. That's why they want to trial him. He hasn't obviously agreed to anything or confirmed anything. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, the German constitution is very clear on this. There's an article, Article 16. The German constitution is quite a modern constitution in historical terms. It's after the Second World War. And it was put there originally to stop extradition to countries that didn't have fair judicial systems in place. That's why it's there. But of course, when we were part of the European Union, we were considered to have a fair, equitable judicial system because all member states were required to have that. Since we've left the European Union, that presumption is no longer there, and consequently, Article 16 of the German Constitution applies. And as far as I can see, there is no way around it.
This does pose a big problem because, of course, it's German law that prevented this man getting what many people in Britain would argue would be a proper trial and proper justice. I mean, he has a lot more rights as a suspect in Germany than he would in Britain.
I'm not arguing for the German constitution, but I guess German constitutional lawyers would say that's the point of the German constitution. But there is another option available. And that other option available is that, of course, Portugal is still a member of the European Union, and therefore he could be extradited to Portugal within the current rules that apply to the European Union. And there he would have to face a trial under European law, under Portuguese law. I do understand why the Metropolitan Police would like to get him here, because, of course, they are more familiar with the way our English and legal system operates. So I do understand why the Metropolitan Police are keen to have a trial here.
But if you look at the other countries, say if you had a trial in Germany or Portugal, it would appear that they are more serious with their sort of punishments. I mean, they're quite harsh with their punishments. They're not as, even though if he were tried and found guilty of the crime, of course, of which he's denied, of course, but he would probably have a harsher punishment, wouldn't he, under those laws?
Well, yeah, the issue, though, is the trial system. And unfortunately, there's no way around this. When we were in the European Union, this would have been a much more straightforward matter. There'd still have to be a process. It's not just simply a removal from jurisdiction. There still has to be a process, but it's a much more simplified process, and also it's a process that is permitted. Since we left the European Union, there was a couple of years of transition, but those years have now passed, and this is one of those consequences of leaving the European Union. But I'm not sure whether it was foreseen or not, but normally when such considerations of international transaction take place, law and order is a long way behind other political and economic considerations. So it clearly was a fallout from the Brexit process.
Now, of course, the German constitution is not the American constitution. It is not inflexible and unbendable. I mean, there is a political process to change the constitution. You require 2/3 of majority in both houses of the Bundestag. Now, you don't need all of the different states of Germany like you would need, I think it's 3/4 of the states in the United States to amend their constitution. It's been changed, I think, 64 times since it came into operation. I mean, what's the possibility of a Madeleine McCann law passing both houses of the Bundestag? I can't imagine that it would be particularly controversial.
I can't speak for German politics, of course, but what I can say is obviously this is a very high-profile case, a very sensitive case. Whenever there's a death involving a child, clearly there are many emotions and sensitivities involved. So it's the kind of case that could attract the kind of support that you're talking about in Germany for that very reason. But whether the constitutional processes would view it as worth changing the whole of the German legal process around Article 16 for one particular case, your guess is as good as mine.
But surely they can come to some sort of agreement between the two countries, because we have agreements with other countries for extradition and things like that. Can't they do something like that?
Well, we don't have a written constitution, so we make specific laws. When it comes to extradition, there has to be a specific extradition treaty. There's no general extradition treaty. We have specific treaties with individual countries, and we still don't have extradition treaties with certain states that you might think that we should have. We'd have to go through an individual extradition process. But when you have a constitutional requirement like the German constitution has, even a specific treaty won't get round it. It has to be, and I'm not an expert, but it seems to me, looking at it from all that I've been able to garner on this, that there has to be this constitutional change. So if you don't want the trial to take place, if the trial can't take place here, the alternative, other than Germany, is for that to be tried in Portugal. But then the Portuguese authority must be satisfied that it meets their evidential
Timothy,
test.
we have to leave it because we have to read a statement. But Timothy Brain, thank you very much. He's Chief Constable for Westminster, a former Chief Constable.
Well, we contacted the police, who said this.
As part of ongoing inquiries, we remain in close working discussions with policing colleagues in Germany and Portugal. We will continue to pursue any viable lines of inquiry.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain here on GB News.
In the next 10 minutes, US Secretary of War Pete Hegseth will be giving a briefing at the Pentagon.
Well, we'll be asking the question, is the ceasefire really still in place as fire has been exchanged between Iranian and American vessels? What on earth is going on in the Strait of Hormuz? That to come after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A lot of dry weather today for many of us, a lot of cloud as well, and there will be showers in places, but nothing especially heavy or prolonged. Essentially, we're in between weather systems at the moment. Low pressure to one side, high pressure to the other, and as a result, a bit of a weak northerly wind, but these are light winds, and as a result, where the sun does come through, it's going to feel very pleasant, and there will be some sunny spells, especially towards the south of the UK, far north of Scotland, although in the north of Scotland, that's where the heaviest of the showers will be, and there'll be some season snow showers over the tops of the Scottish mountains because it is turning colder. But, well, like I say, where the sun comes through, it's going to feel pleasant enough with light winds. However, there will be a lot of cloud around. We keep that cloud as we go into the evening. Largely dry for southern counties of England as well as for Wales, just the odd shower. We've got this line of showers through the day and into the evening across parts of the Midlands into northwest England, southwest Scotland. That's drifting slowly southwestwards. And then it's in the far north of Scotland where we've got the heaviest showers. But again, these will be on and off, very hit and miss, in between some brighter spells. Overnight, not a great deal changes. We keep these areas of cloud across England and Wales in particular, clearer skies towards the northeast of the UK, and some showers here and there, especially for this time parts of Wales, Northern Ireland and the south and southwest. Now, where we've got those clear skies for Scotland and northern England, it's going to be a chilly start to the day on Wednesday with a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, otherwise milder where we've got the cloudier start for Wales and the southwest as well as for Northern Ireland. Some showers to start the day here, and mostly the showers become confined to Pembrokeshire, the far southwest of England, Northern Ireland, and one or two into the east of England. A lot of cloud here, brighter skies for Scotland, although feeling a little bit colder.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Day.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Buckle up, Britain. It's going to be quite a ride. Votes are being cast and counts are gearing up in elections across the country. Everything could change, from the first result to the inevitable aftermath. We'll be across it all. Vote 2026, the people decide. From 11 p.m. Thursday night, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Does Chopper need a coffee?
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 1 o'clock on Tuesday, the 5th of May. I'm Nana Akua.
And I'm Tom Harwood. Well, border disorder. Yes, small boat migrant arrivals are on course to hit 200,000 since the crisis began. That's the equivalent to an illegal city the size of Norwich arriving since 2018. Nearly 900 more arrived over the weekend alone.
And as the numbers continue to grow, are the French police finally getting more robust? They've been slashing boats over the weekend, but will it last?
Make no mistake, this crisis, it's a crisis for all of us. It is a test of our values. Values that aren't guaranteed, they are earned.
Well, breaking in the last hour, Sir Keir Starmer's crackdown on anti-Semitism intensifies as the Prime Minister pledges more support for Jewish communities across the country. He also had this stark warning for Iran and other countries inciting violence and anti-Semitism.
Our message to Iran or to any other country that might seek to foment violence, hatred or division in society is that it will not be tolerated.
And the cruise holiday horror, the holiday from hell. Yes, World Health Organization medics have now boarded the cruise ship where a deadly virus has left 3 dead and a passenger fighting for their life after the hantavirus outbreak on board. We'll bring you all the details. Well, we are expecting Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War in the United States, to deliver a briefing after some pretty curious goings-on in the Strait of Hormuz.
I mean, I wonder if he'll clarify whether American ships were actually hit or whether, you know, what actually happened there. We'll get to hear, because I quite like the fact that they give their people an update and everybody an update on what's happening on the American side of things. But I'm curious to see, sort of, get through the fog of war and find out what the Americans are actually saying.
There are questions to answer. Of course, there is a ceasefire on land. The Americans haven't been dropping bombs, but ships have been trading fire. So it seems like there is no ceasefire on the sea. Well, our Home and Security Editor, Mark White, is with us. Because, Mark, time is ticking for the end of the formal ceasefire, and many people suspect that hostilities will resume in force.
Well, certainly if you listen to much of the mainstream media, that's certainly their conclusion here. I'm not so sure. It depends what Iran does. But I honestly think that President Trump is more than happy just to continue squeezing Iran in terms of a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, trying to get some shipping through under escort. But of course, if you've got Iran then responding by attacking those ships, it ups the ante. But it was interesting yesterday when these reports were coming through of Iran and their news agents.
Mark, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you. Pete Hegseth is at the podium.
Well, as you know, President Trump has directed U.S. Central Command to restart the free flow of commerce through the Strait of Hormuz under the umbrella of Project Freedom. To be clear, this operation is separate and distinct from Operation Epic Fury. Project Freedom is defensive in nature, focused in scope, and temporary in duration, with one mission: protecting innocent commercial shipping from Iranian aggression. American forces won't need to enter Iranian waters or airspace. It's not necessary. We're not looking for a fight, but Iran also cannot be allowed to block innocent countries and their goods from an international waterway. Iran is the clear aggressor, harassing civilian vessels, threatening mariners from every nation indiscriminately, and weaponizing a critical choke point for its own financial benefit, or at least trying to. For too long, Iran has been harassing ships, shooting at civilian tankers from all nations, and trying to impose a tolling system. Iran's plan, a form of international extortion, is unacceptable. That ends with Project Freedom. 2 U.S. commercial ships, along with American destroyers, have already safely transited the strait, showing the lane is clear. We know the Iranians are embarrassed by this fact. They said they control the strait. They do not. So American ships led the way, commercial and military, shouldering the initial risk from the front, as Americans always do. And right now, hundreds more ships from nations around the world are lining up to transit. CENTCOM, along with partner nations, is in active communication with hundreds of ships, shipping companies, and insurers. All of these ships from all around the world want to get out of the Iranian trap that they have been stuck inside. As a direct gift from the United States to the world, we have established a powerful red, white, and blue dome over the strait. American destroyers are on station, supported by hundreds of fighter jets, helicopters, drones, and surveillance aircraft, providing 24/7 overwatch for peaceful commercial vessels. Except Iran's, of course, which is why our ironclad blockade remains in full effect as well. In fact, 6 ships tried to run the blockade out of Iranian ports as Project Freedom commenced, and they were all turned around. This is more than strategy, it's also humanitarian. By breaking Iran's illegal stranglehold, we're protecting the lives and livelihoods of sailors from dozens of countries, securing global energy routes, and preventing shortages that hit the world's poorest people the hardest. Once again, America is using its strength to lift up others. Iran is trying to subjugate the world. To what remains of Iran's forces, if you attack American troops or innocent commercial shipping, you will face overwhelming and devastating American firepower. The President has been very clear about this. We prefer this to be a peaceful operation, but are locked and loaded to defend our people, our ships, our aircraft, and this mission without hesitation. To Iran, let innocent ships pass freely. These international waters belong to all nations, not to Iran to tax, toll, or control. To our partners, allies, and the rest of the world, this is a temporary mission for us. As I've said before, the world needs this waterway a lot more than we do. We're stabilizing the situation so commerce can flow again, but we expect the world to step up. At the appropriate time and soon, we will hand responsibility back to you. To the incredible Americans executing this mission right now, simply thank you. Your courage, your readiness, your unmatched professionalism and precision are why the world can breathe easier today and every day. You are and always will be the greatest fighting force in human history, unmatched always. Project Freedom is underway. Commerce will be flowing, and America is once again leading with strength, clarity, and purpose for the benefit of the entire world. Our will is unshakable. God bless our troops, and God bless the mighty United States Navy as well. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. On Sunday, at the direction of the President, CENTCOM initiated Project Freedom with the objective of facilitating the safe passage of international commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the past 7 weeks, Iran's repeatedly threatened and attacked commercial shipping in the Strait in order to effectively cut off commercial traffic and damage the global economy. By obstructing one of the world's most critical maritime checkpoints, a vital transit route for approximately 1/5 of the global oil consumption, Iran is weaponizing the global supply chain. This action disregards established navigational rights and the law of the sea, and the regime led by the IRGC is effectively attempting to hold the entire global economy hostage. Let me give you an update of the last few days of activities, and if you take a look at the map here, as the Secretary said, the United States has established Project Freedom to open up the Strait of Hormuz. This graphic highlights the kinetic engagements that the Iranians have attempted to make or have taken against the region. The green dots and blue dots show the groupings of commercial, cargo, and tanker vessels. And the United States has established a significant presence over the strait here in order to open up the free flow of commerce, noting the blockade still continues along the eastern flank. The map shows the examples and samples of Iranian attacks against commercial vessels in the strait, as well as the Gulf of Oman and up in the Arabian Gulf. Since the ceasefire was announced, Iran has fired at commercial vessels 9 times and seized 2 container ships, and they've attacked U.S. forces more than 10 times, all below the threshold of restarting major combat operations at this point. You can also see the group of tankers and cargo vessels in the U.S. blockade line, as I mentioned. As a result of Iran's indiscriminate attacks across the region, there are currently 22,500 mariners embarked on more than 1,550 commercial vessels trapped in the Arabian Gulf, unable to transit. In addition to shipping, Iran has continued to deliberately attack its neighbors. Just yesterday, Iran attacked Oman once and the UAE 3 times, including an attack on Fujairah oil terminal, which was successfully defeated. They also launched cruise missiles, drones, small boats at U.S. forces defending commercial shipping in the Straits, and United States Navy MH-60 helicopters and Army AH-64 Apache helicopters successfully defeated those threats. Thus far, today is quieter. Let me describe this defensive operation just a few clicks down for you. As the Secretary said, Project Freedom is designed to protect commercial shipping and help restore the flow of commerce through the strait and sustain freedom of navigation. CENTCOM has established an enhanced security area on the southern side of the strait that is now protected by U.S. land, naval, and air assets to help defeat further Iranian aggression against commercial shipping. I'd like to share a little bit more about U.S. capabilities, but for operational security purposes, I'm not going to get into specific details out there. On the surface, guided missile destroyers and other warships are detecting and defeating Iranian threats. This includes fast boats and one-way attack drones. In the air, more than 100 fighters, attack aircraft, and other manned and unmanned aircraft synchronized by the 82nd Airborne Division are in the air 24 hours a day, providing defensive overwatch for the enhanced security area and its approaches that I discussed. These forces are comprised of over 15,000 American service members and have established localized air and sea control to protect against Iranian threats. Commercial vessels that transit through the area will see, hear, and frankly feel U.S. combat power around them on the sea, in the skies, and on the radio. And as of this morning, as was mentioned prior, 2 U.S. flag merchant vessels have transited, and we anticipate more to transit over the coming days. Further up the Gulf, U.S. Naval Forces Central Command continues to work to identify and mitigate any threats. Beyond Project Freedom, CENTCOM and the rest of the Joint Force remain ready to resume major combat operations against Iran if ordered to do so. No adversary should mistake our current restraint with a lack of resolve. And the President has said, as the Secretary has, that now is the time for those with equity stake in the strait to come assist. Before I turn it back to the Secretary, I want to take a moment to highlight part of our joint force today. And today I want to talk about the paratroopers of the United States Army 82nd Airborne Division. When the President or the Secretary need immediate, scalable, and lethal combat power in CENTCOM or elsewhere, the All-American Division answers the call. The 82nd is the core of our nation's immediate response force and ready to deploy within hours of notice. These paratroopers are capable of accomplishing any mission in any environment, constantly training, constantly ready to jump from Air Force aircraft into ground combat and seize key terrain if ordered to do so, just like their predecessors did in Sicily and Normandy in World War II, or to secure or enable the follow-on forces to flow into theater as they did in Grenada or Panama. They can do the range of missions from counterinsurgency to counterterrorism operations to power projection, as they have many times over the course of the history of this great division. They can do all these things because they're incredibly well-trained, well-equipped, and well-led, but also because of the indomitable spirit of the All-American paratrooper. Every single one of them volunteered for this role, volunteered to go to airborne training, and volunteered to serve. But this division is now more than just a formation that we use for forcible entries. For example, just today, they are out there coordinating, integrating, and synchronizing land, air, space, sea, and cyber forces using joint all-domain command and control. They use next-generation tactical networks that are AI-enabled to augment intelligence and operations, and they seamlessly synchronize all of these effects and are doing so in support of Project Freedom as we speak. The relentless focus on technical innovation allows the commanders out there in the field to see, sense, and understand the opportunities that are in front of them, along with the associated risks, and make smart decisions out on the objective. With incredible courage, tenacity, and grit, they are going all the way every day, and whenever the nation calls on them, they are there to answer the call. We are grateful for their service and their leadership. Lastly, before I close, as I often do, I want to remember some of our fallen. Today we remember Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Brianna Moffett, and Specialist Kennedy Sanders of the 718th Engineering Company, U.S. Army Reserves, out of Fort Benning, Georgia. They were tragically killed on January 28, 2024, when attacked by an Iranian-backed proxy force at Tower 22 in Jordan. We continue to carry on their memories. We remember their names. We remember their families. And the Secretary and I are deeply grateful for all of our deployed forces who are out there doing our nation's work. And sir, with that, I'll kick it back over to you.
Very good. We'll take a few questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. Do you assess, Mr. Secretary, do you assess what's left of this small boat fleet to be a significant threat or a nuisance to be managed? And then secondly, what is your message to critics who say that the U.S. doesn't have a strategy in this mission?
Well, any threat needs to be taken seriously. And just like those 6 attack boats that the chairman mentioned were taken seriously and dealt with before there were any real threat to the American military vessels that they were approaching. And that is, small craft like that are all that Iran has left. Their ability to close with a destroyer of the capabilities that we have is limited, but we're going to take it very seriously and kinetically, quickly. We're not going to allow a threat to gather. And I can tell you, even from just this morning, the strategy remains laser focused. In fact, what I think you see from Project Freedom is that we're not allowing ourselves to get distracted. This is a separate and distinct effort, temporary in nature, that we plan to hand over to the world. The world has expressed a desire to be a part of this. As is often the case, or maybe almost always the case, American leadership is required. So the president was willing to undertake this, send commercial ships through, send destroyers in, provide this red, white, and blue bubble of protection, and encourage the world to step up. Because ultimately, this waterway is, as I said, far more crucial to the rest of the world, and they need to have the ability to defend it. So I think this is a reflection of a laser-focused strategy, actually. Right here.
Morning, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. David Zia, Real America's Voice. I wanted to ask you of any of the fast boats that have been either sunk or identified, are there any armaments larger than, say, small, AK-47 type stuff, or any anti-ship cruise missiles identified? And my second question is, if there's a divide between the IRGC and Tehran, is there a way to get Tehran to agree to let us go after the IRGC that is doing these attacks without violating the ceasefire?
Well, right now, anything coming at our crafts, regardless of what's on it, has to be defended against, and that's the case. I don't know what the exact armaments were on those fast boats.
Small arms, nothing significant on the fast boats.
Rifles or small machine guns. There were some small coastal cruise missiles shot down as well. So there's been, I think there's some frothiness in the beginning aspects of this that were dealt with very directly by our destroyers, and we're communicating both overtly and quietly to the Iranians to allow this defensive operation to happen on behalf of the world. There are some actions the IRGC takes sometimes that are outside the bounds of what maybe Iranian negotiators would like. That's their job to rein that in and ultimately create a condition for a deal, right? That's not something I talked about in these remarks, but that's happening in real time. Iran has an ability to make that deal, but what we're demonstrating with Project Freedom is they don't control the strait. I mean, we know Iran is embarrassed by the fact that our blockade is holding, and we can run ships through, and we're going to help the world run ships through. And if they hold it at issue, the whole world knows who's doing it. It's not us. We're willing to open it up. It's Iran, and that creates a dilemma for them. We hope they make a deal. Yes.
Thank you, sir. My first question is for General Kane. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. You said that the attacks by Iran so far are below the threshold of restarting major combat operations. What is that threshold? And then for Secretary Hegseth, are there still concerns about mines in the Strait? And can you kind of clarify these reports of kamikaze dolphins that we've heard about?
I haven't heard the kamikaze dolphin thing. It's like sharks with laser beams, right? The threshold of restarting is a political decision above my pay grade. What I'll say is it's low harassing fire right now. It feels like Iran is grasping at straws to try to do something across the southern flank. To your question, David, their command and control structure remains very fractured, and I think they're struggling to maintain control down echelon at the edge, but it's still pretty low-level kinetics at this point in time.
And I can't confirm or deny whether we have kamikaze dolphins, but I can confirm they don't. Ultimately, any follow-on effort, if there are mines identified, would be something that some of our units could undertake or the world could undertake. But right now we know we have a lane of safe passage that commercial shipping can flow through.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. Last 24 hours or so, Iran's fired at us, we fired at Iran.
Just going to ask you more directly, is the ceasefire over?
No, the ceasefire is not over. Ultimately, this is a separate and distinct project, and we expected there would be some churn at the beginning, which happened. And we said we would defend and defend aggressively, and we absolutely have. Iran knows that. And ultimately, the president's going to make a decision whether anything were to escalate into a violation of a ceasefire. But certainly we would urge Iran to be prudent in the actions that they take to keep that underneath this threshold. This is about the straits. This is about freedom of navigation. This is about international waterways. This is about free flow of commerce, all the things that happened before, and only Iran is contesting. So right now the ceasefire certainly holds, but we're going to be watching very, very closely. Absolutely.
Secretary
James, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. General, thank you. I want to first express my gratitude and admiration for the work you do and for everyone involved in our armed forces, and also for the accomplishments of Operation Epic Fury, which I think are too often dismissed too lightly. But those accomplishments don't obscure, I think, a central default that has occurred here, and I would like you both to address it. On the first day of this conflict, President Trump addressed the Iranian people directly and said, when we're finished, take over your government. It'll be yours to take. And then on the seventh day of the conflict, in a Truth Social post, the president said, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except, all caps, exclamation mark, unconditional surrender. What happens to that pledge to the Iranians? And when did the president decide to capitulate on his demand for unconditional surrender?
Well, James, I wouldn't. You started out nicely, but you ended exactly where we knew you would end. The president hasn't capitulated on anything. He holds the cards. We maintain the upper hand, and Project Freedom only strengthens that hand. And so he will ensure that whatever deal is made or whatever end state is reached creates ensuring that Iran never has a nuclear weapon, which is number one, and he's been focused on that, and the deal and discussions are centered on that. And what the Iranian people take advantage of after the fact is up to them, and he's been very clear about that. And maybe you do it now, maybe it happens later, but ultimately he's also been clear, we're not going to entangle this into some nation-building project. Our objectives are clear. They've been pursued from day one. Hopefully the Iranian people take advantage of that, because they're being taken advantage of by this regime. As you know, 45,000 Iranians, innocent Iranians, killed before the outset of this. That's what this government does, kills their own innocent civilians. Getting out from underneath that is going to be a challenge of the Iranian people, and we certainly hope they take advantage of that. Thank you.
Could I have one follow, please?
Go ahead. Everybody else
one follow.
Directives. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Can you share any information regarding the South Korean ship that was reportedly hit by Iran? Is Seoul in contact with the U.S. military about it? And is there any indication that they would heed Trump's call made on social media to join Project Freedom?
We hope so. We're in contact with that ship, CENTCOM, I should say, and the Maritime Coordination Forces are in touch. And I think targeting like that is a reflection of the indiscriminate nature of what Iran is doing. We hope South Korea would step up, just like we hope Japan would step up, just like we hope Australia would step up, just like we hope Europe steps up. But we're not waiting for them to do so. We're looking to set the conditions to hand to them. But the president was clear in his truth message that, hey, this is your ship. You should take part in helping to defend it. We very much hope they do. James, go ahead.
Mr. Secretary, in terms of new U.S. intelligence reports suggest that the timeline for the war in Iran to get a nuclear weapon has not changed since last summer, still at 9 to 12 months. Is that intelligence wrong? How can this be after so much bombing? And for General Kane, going on back onto what you're talking about, the Strait of Hormuz, the president recently said that the blockade is even more effective than bombing. So why didn't we start the campaign with the blockade? And initially, how many planned ships do you plan to escort or take through commercial ships to the Strait of Hormuz today or in the coming days?
Well, we don't discuss the specifics about intel, and anybody that does shouldn't be, and I can't confirm or deny whether that is indeed correct. Speculation, as far as I'm concerned, coming from you. But ultimately, what Operation Midnight Hammer did in the obliteration of those facilities was set back their program. And then, because of the efforts of that 12-day war, the president was able to recognize that this threat, while they continued to seek nuclear capabilities, their will was still there to seek a nuclear bomb. Ultimately, they were creating a conventional umbrella of so many missiles and so many capabilities that no one would want to challenge them. Think of the North Korea. This is the North Korea strategy, We have so many conventional capabilities, you won't do something about it, and underneath that, we're going to develop more nuclear capability. So the will was still there. President Trump had the courage to say we have to dismantle and take on those conventional capabilities while the nuclear facilities are watched 24/7 and overwatched, and we will ensure one way or another, hopefully Iran chooses a deal, that they give up those ambitions, give up those capabilities, and we're able to confirm that every step of the way. So that has been, President Trump's been focused on it. He's set them back like no other president. He ripped up the terrible deal that would have given them a bomb. He took care of it in Midnight Hammer. We're watching it right now, and ultimately feel good about the fact that the end state will ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. Go ahead.
Sir, I'll let CENTCOM talk to the number of ships they're going to take through because they're the nearest ones to talking to the commercial shippers, and I don't want to get out in front of them. On the order and sequence around the military objectives, that's a decision the President and the Secretary go get us at, and at the time we were focused on the primary objectives that were in front of us. Thank you.
Ryan Morgan with the Epoch Times. On Friday, President Trump notified Congress that the hostilities that began on February 28th had terminated. That came on the deadline of the 60-day war powers deadline. Will this administration be seeking congressional approval for any further military operations if the ceasefire breaks down?
Our view is the one you described, that ultimately with the ceasefire, the clock stops. If it were to restart, that would be the president's decision. That option is always there, and Iran knows that, and that's why, you know, their choices in Project Freedom are important. The president retains the opportunity and the capabilities, more capabilities than we had at the start of this, to restart major combat operations if necessary. If Iran is not willing to follow through on its side of the bargain or make a deal, then the War Department is postured, locked, loaded, and ready to go. We hope it doesn't have to go in that direction, but Admiral Cooper and our forces are in a three-point stance and ready to go. Yeah, last question.
Thank you. Liam Cosgrove with Zero Hedge. In recent weeks, both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's head of Mossad have stated their intent not to cease combat with the Iranians. Netanyahu put this on Twitter. Israel's head of Mossad said Israel's goals are not finished until the Iranian government collapses. And so they're referring to the government that President Trump has brokered a ceasefire with and is working on a lasting peace in the region with. And so that's, you know, something many Americans, especially American farmers, are hoping he does get to a lasting peace. And so if President Trump is successful in that and the Israelis are explicitly stating their intent to continue fighting at a later date, how can you ensure America doesn't get roped back into a war if that comes? And secondly, with Netanyahu comfortable tweeting something like that out, and also Netanyahu has continued bombing Lebanon despite President Trump explicitly telling him not to.
I would say your question is based on the false premise that somehow President Trump is being pulled in by Prime Minister Netanyahu to any of these actions. And that's where you're going. Just to be clear, President Trump has led at every step of this based on his view of American interest and America first. And we're grateful that Israelis have been very capable partners at many steps of this. And they may have some objectives at times that are slightly different than ours. But there's only one hand on the wheel ultimately directing this, whether it's Project Freedom or previously Operation Epic Fury, and it's President Trump. So we're grateful for their input, their insights, the existential nature of the threat they face from an Iranian bomb, the capabilities that they can bring to that, but ultimately the coordination will happen with the leadership of President Trump. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, so there we have it. That was Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, and Dan Kane, talking about the progress currently in Iran. He called Iran the aggressor and said that they were attempting to impose a tolling system, which he said, well, that ends with Project Freedom. He called the Strait of Hormuz international waters, but they're not actually. They're wholly owned by Iran and Oman. But what it is they are shipping lanes that are owned by them, but other ships from other countries have the right of passage under the UN Convention of the Law on the Sea. But Iran and Oman do have full sovereignty over them. They cannot legally impose the shipping lanes or impede innocent transit of passage during peacetime. No. That's the word, peacetime, at the end. So
Well, and here's the situation. We didn't yet hear comprehensive analysis on what is actually going to happen with this ceasefire and what might happen on the land part of this war that is currently in suspended animation. But more on that as we get it. Now, let's turn to our political editor, Christopher Hope, who can join us live from Westminster. Because, Christopher, you've been speaking to the Prime Minister's official spokesman there in Downing Street behind you. What did he have to say?
That's right. We have one session a week with the PM spokesman. We had an hour just now with him. Of course, Parliament's prorogued until next week's King's Speech, Tom and Nana. Before I get to the main issue of the day, which is anti-Semitism, there was some breaking news that a second Briton has been taken ill with symptoms on board of the MV Hondius, number 10 has told us. The UK is working with the Dutch government. That, of course, is a Dutch-flagged vessel to try and remove that individual. Of course, the issue of the hantavirus outbreak on that cruise ship is taking a lot of attention at the moment in the news. There's already one Briton being treated in South Africa. Number 10 says the Foreign Office is in touch with that vessel, talking to the captain. There are 147 passengers on board, 88 are actually passengers, and 59 are crew, including 20 Brits. So now we know that around 1 in 7 of the people on board that ship are Britons. Number 10 also confirms that the World Health Organization is now looking at this, so looking at the suspected outbreak. It's a worrying time for friends and family, Number 10 tells us, for those on board, and their thoughts are with everyone affected. But Number 10 does say there's a very low risk to the general public. So developing news on the issue of this cruise ship with this escalating issue of people reporting symptoms linked to hantavirus. In the briefing with the PM spokesman, we talked about the anti-Semitism crackdown today. 90 different bodies represented in the building behind me in 10 Downing Street. The Prime Minister spoke to them and made clear how he wants to see a step change across society in tackling anti-Semitism. There are 2 new elements to what he said, covering universities and the arts. Let's have a listen, first of all, of what he said.
Today, I can announce that we will lift the bar higher. When abuses take place, we're calling on universities to demonstrate action. We will now expect them to publish the scale of the problem on their campuses, as well as the specific steps they have taken to clamp down on it. And we will also address a quieter, but no less serious harm. The way rising security costs are forcing Jewish artists and organisations out of public life. That is exclusion, and it is unacceptable.
So a spokesman was able to offer scant details on what the PM is planning, but they are accelerating this whole of society response to anti-Semitism. We are determined, Number 10 says, to make Jewish people feel safe again. Women can wear the Star of David necklace, and men are not afraid to wear a skull cap. Details to be unveiled in due course. No indication of how universities will have to report the scale of anti-Semitism. Will that be in publicly available tables? Will we know, for example, information published by the universities can show us the scale of complaints about anti-Semitism? How will that manifest itself? We are told there will be zero tolerance for any inaction. There will also be an independent audit of how allegations are handled by these universities, as well as an audit of how the Arts Council treats these issues and whether funding is withdrawn from theatres and other bodies which do platform anti-Semitism. So a crackdown here, but as things stand, not enough detail, I think, for Jewish communities to know this government's got their side. Lots of warm words, but where's the detail? Now, other politicians have been reacting to this today. Here's what Sir Ed Davey said. He's the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party.
We need to make it a safe place for our Jewish friends. It is quite outrageous, these attacks on synagogues from Manchester to London, and now these other terrorist incidences. We need to make sure that the police are doing everything they can, the security services are doing everything they can, and we tackle this problem at its root, where people are getting away with saying horrible, hateful things.
Now, the Tory party yesterday unveiled their plans for dealing with anti-Semitism, visible policing at Jewish sites they want, fast-track jail terms for anti-Semitism, banning hate marches, tackling Islamist extremism, and banning the IRGC, the Iranian Republican Guard, which could actually be coming up in next week's King's Speech when the government announces its next plans for laws. The Green Party have said this, that Jewish people deserve safety and belonging wherever they live, and we stand in solidarity with the British Jewish community, and of course the Reform UK have said tough words against anti-Semitism too in the past.
All right, Christopher Hope, thank you very much.
Well, there's lots more still to come on today's programme.
Yes, border disorder. Small boat migrant arrivals are on course to hit 200,000 since the crisis began. That is, of course, the equivalent to an illegal city the size of Norwich, arriving since 2018. Nearly 900 more arrived in the weekend alone.
Well, all of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A lot of dry weather today for many of us, a lot of cloud as well, and there will be showers in places, but nothing especially heavy or prolonged. Essentially, we're in between weather systems at the moment. Low pressure to one side, high pressure to the other, and as a result, a bit of a weak northerly wind, but these are light winds, and as a result, where the sun does come through, it's going to feel very pleasant, and there will be some sunny spells, especially towards the south of the UK, far north of Scotland, although in the north of Scotland, that's where the heaviest of the showers will be, and there'll be some season snow showers over the tops of the Scottish mountains because it is turning colder. But, well, like I say, where the sun comes through, it's going to feel pleasant enough with light winds. However, there will be a lot of cloud around. We keep that cloud as we go into the evening. Largely dry for southern counties of England, as well as for Wales, just the odd shower. We've got this line of showers through the day and into the evening across parts of the Midlands into northwest England, southwest Scotland. That's drifting slowly southwestwards. And then it's in the far north of Scotland where we've got the heaviest showers. But again, these will be on and off, very hit and miss, in between some brighter spells. Overnight, not a great deal changes. We keep these areas of cloud across England and Wales in particular, clearer skies towards the northeast of the UK, and some showers here and there, especially for this time parts of Wales, Northern Ireland and the south and southwest. Now, where we've got those clear skies for Scotland and northern England, it's going to be a chilly start to the day on Wednesday with a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, otherwise milder where we've got the cloudier start for Wales and the southwest as well as for Northern Ireland. Some showers to start the day here, and mostly the showers become confined to Pembrokeshire, the far southwest of England, Northern Ireland, and one or two into the east of England. A lot of cloud here, brighter skies for Scotland, although feeling a little bit colder.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Traffic southbound on the M74 is restricted between junctions 7 and 8 due to a vehicle fire. The M6 northbound in Lancashire has delays around junction 28 with one lane closed. In Essex, the M11 southbound has a lane closed due to a broken down vehicle, as does the M20 eastbound in Kent. The M5 southbound entry slip at junction 22 in Somerset remains closed after a serious collision. And on the trains, major disruption is reported between Doncaster and Newark Northgate on Grand Central and Hull train services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It is 40 minutes after 1 o'clock now. The small boats crisis is closing in on 200,000 crossings after another 800 arrivals this weekend.
Well, the milestone ramps up pressure on Sir Keir Starmer, with critics claiming Labour has lost control of the borders.
Well, GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White joins us now. A shockingly high figure. I mean, really, it's quite worrying.
Yes, those who suggest that actually maybe Sir Keir Starmer's policy is working point to the fact that the number of crossings this year is down on this point last year, and that's true. It's about 35% down. But it's still over 7,000 who have crossed the English Channel so far this year. Now, nobody can argue that that is at all acceptable in the scheme of things, and we push towards the fact that 200,000, within one boat, maybe 1.5 boats' time, we will be at 200,000, which is a very significant number since this crisis began only back in 2018, so not that long ago, for such a considerable number to have crossed illegally by small boat. And then, of course, you got the issue as well about the fact that 71,000 have crossed just in the time that Sir Keir Starmer has been in charge at Downing Street. That is an enormous figure under the Labour government, when we were told specifically that he was going to do things differently from the Conservatives, that it was a policy of smash the gangs, and that would pay dividends. And we want to bring you a bit of exclusive video that we obtained that shows activity over the weekend. This is French police apparently being more robust, running towards a small boat, slashing that boat, even though it's in the water and full of migrants. The migrants are then scrambling on shore as the boat quickly deflates. Now, what's notable about this is the French police have always, for years, told us they wouldn't do this if a migrant boat is in the water because it's too dangerous, even though, I mean, there's virtually just ankle deep in water there. So clearly they've seized their chance. Will it be the kind of thing we see more regularly? I'm not so sure, because the French have said that they won't do it if there's women and children on board. Well, what are the people smugglers going to do on hearing that kind of information? Then make sure there's at least a couple of women and children on board each of these boats, so the French won't go near it.
Although it is worth saying that we have seen a significant number, and this was your report actually, we've seen a significant number of these boat launches move to Belgium, where they don't have the same sort of police tactics, or indeed British-funded police, doing this sort of stuff, which is brave. I mean, we know how many weapons exist in migrant camps. I mean, these police officers are running towards danger when they're running to slash those boats. They don't know what those migrants have on them and what the response of those migrants might be. I mean...
Well, and they're outnumbered as well.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that the shift to Belgium is because the French police are getting a bit more brave about this?
I think there's no doubt that the number of law enforcement personnel on the beaches in northern France, in particular around the Dunkirk and Calais area, is prompting a switch in people smuggling tactics. But throughout this crisis, they've always done that. Where there have been concentrated police patrols, they work around it. Occasionally they've been in Belgium, but not to any degree. Now 1 in 5 of the launches are coming from beaches in Belgium. That is absolutely a sign that they're getting away from more significant beach patrols around Calais and Dunkirk. But they're also moving further south. And at the weekend we saw launches from Belgium and launches from as far down as Boulogne, but even further south to the Somme and south of that, which puts them in the water for very significant amounts of time. But they're always doing it. It's a cat and mouse game. So the people smugglers, whatever we get in the way of a response from French or Belgian law enforcement, the people smugglers will just adapt and work away around it, and that's what they're doing. So eventually, whether the numbers are down to more significant beach patrols or the weather, I suspect it's actually the weather. We've had lots of very windy conditions, and particularly the wind coming from the north, which is not conducive to trying to push off from these beaches. You need a kind of southerly wind for the most optimum sort of launch conditions. So if they come from the north, it tends to sort of churn up the waves a bit more and makes that crossing that bit more difficult.
Well, the thing is, I suspect that I don't think, I mean, are the crossings actually reducing from France, or are they just simply finding another place? And then there's another place. I mean, there was a map, and it's like a taxi service. You just go along the edge of the shoreline, and there's like 3-4 stops. It looked like a tube map, or an underground map, or a bus map. They are turning it into an actual taxi. Next, they'll be branded Uber.
Well, absolutely. What we can say about the launches and the efforts of law enforcement to slash them is that it only ever delays them. It doesn't stop them. They just go back to the camps, they meet up with the criminal gang, and they're on a boat a day or two later.
As long as they know that as soon as they get onto British soil, they can claim asylum.
So we're paying £662 million to the French just to delay the inevitable.
I don't know.
Mark White, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Mark White. Well, listen, when challenged on the matter, Housing Secretary Steve Reed blamed the previous Conservative government.
They're holier than thou on this issue. When their MPs were in government, they got it badly wrong and the crisis ran out of control. We are getting a grip on it. Is it fast enough? We want to go faster.
By the way, I was joking when I said it would be branded Uber, by the way, just in case.
Yeah, other rideshare apps are available.
One of the other ones.
Well, time for our brand new Great British giveaway now, and your chance to have a spectacular summer with £76,543.21 in tax-free cash in your bank account. Now, those 21 pence are very, very important. Imagine the kind of summer you could have with all that cash. Here are the details.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. Imagine all the things you could do with that cash. Give the garden a glow up, max out on a new motor, or just make sure the coming year is your year. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny for a chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck indeed. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, here's the forecast in Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading to northern Italy or southern France, then expect some thunderstorms over the next few days. But for most of the Mediterranean, it's set to stay fair and dry and mostly sunny. Although temperatures will be a little bit below par for the time of year, it should still feel pleasantly warm in the sunshine across Portugal and Spain. We do run into those heavy showers, though, for the Balkans and particularly northern parts of Italy. But further south, many parts of Greece and Turkey will be turning increasingly dry over the next few days, with some sunshine around as well. And temperatures around average, so feeling warm in the sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I think if we try to mix what happens in their private lives and the art they produce, we won't have no artists left to listen to, no books left to read. Culture in itself will be dented. We always have to remind ourselves that these people are human. I'm not saying what they've done in their private lives are okay and should be forgotten about. But if we start undermining audiences and think, okay, we can't do any films about them, we can't do any books about them, there's nothing left for us to celebrate. It's always down to an audience member. If they don't like Michael Jackson, no one's forcing you to buy the ticket to go watch his film. There are millions of Michael Jackson fans out there, so why should they suffer just because of these allegations which he was proved not guilty for?
I mean, I know it's not meant to be a documentary. It is a sort of celebration of his very public life, of his stage life, as it were. But you're still not being told the whole story. So are you being hoodwinked?
No, actually, Anne. So what's actually happened, Lionsgate, who have produced the film, they're actually planning a follow-up to this film. So it actually ends when he releases Thriller. So there will be a follow-up to this movie. So let's talk about the allegations now. When he was accused by Jordan Chandler in 1993 of child abuse, he signed a couple of NDAs, Michael Jackson. So the film did want to depict it, but they can't do it because of the NDAs that he signed at the time. And those NDAs actually stand after his death. So it's not that the family haven't wanted to highlight it. I do agree that obviously because the estate made this film can be one-sided, but that side of Michael Jackson's career, they did want to include in the film.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Right, 52 minutes after 1 o'clock, and fashion's biggest names gathered on the iconic steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art for 2026, the Met Gala last night, showcasing some of the most stunning and most daring frocks.
Well, goodness me. Shall we have a look at some of these outfits now? You know, when I decided to be a journalist, I wasn't sure that I'd be covering fashion choices of the rich and famous of New York, but here we are. Someone's come dressed as a sort of...
That's Heidi Klum. She's the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, it's a sort of a white Statue of Liberty. I'm not quite sure what that's saying.
Well, it's grey, the Statue of Liberty, isn't it? What colour is it?
Green.
Is it green?
Yeah, but it was originally bronze. It was originally bronze, and it's oxidised.
Look at this outfit. Who is that? Who knows? You can't see. I'm not sure.
I'm going to be honest. I have absolutely no idea who any of these people are. But I mean, they are wearing interesting clothes. I mean, isn't the point of the Met Gala that you sort of try and wear something absolutely outrageous to then get in some magazines afterwards?
Yeah, I think that's the point of it. I would love to go to that.
It's lots of rich and famous people all just congratulating each other on being rich and famous. The building it's held in is very pretty. I mean, it's worth going just to sort of... Oh, they've got an Egyptian temple inside.
Yes, very nice.
That was rescued when they dammed a bit of the Nile for the Aswan Dam. And they had to save a temple that would have been flooded, and they moved it to New York, and it's in that museum.
I've been to that place as well. I did a little project about that particular building. But this is good.
Sorry, I know we were meant to talk about the dresses, and I just spoke about the architecture.
More coming on today's show. Do not go anywhere. First, let's get an update with your weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A lot of dry weather today for many of us, a lot of cloud as well, and there will be showers in places, but nothing especially heavy or prolonged. Essentially, we're in between weather systems at the moment. Low pressure to one side, high pressure to the other, and as a result,
A bit of a weak northerly wind, but these are light winds, and as a result, where the sun does come through, it's going to feel very pleasant. And there will be some sunny spells, especially towards the south of the UK, far north of Scotland, although in the north of Scotland, that's where the heaviest of the showers will be. And there'll be some season snow showers over the tops of the Scottish mountains because it is turning colder. But, well, like I say, where the sun comes through, it's going to feel pleasant enough with light winds. However, there will be a lot of cloud around. We keep that cloud as we go into the evening. Largely dry for southern counties of England, as well as for Wales, just the odd shower. We've got this line of showers through the day and into the evening across parts of the Midlands, into northwest England, southwest Scotland. That's drifting slowly southwestwards. And then it's in the far north of Scotland where we've got the heaviest showers. But again, these will be on and off, very hit and miss, in between some brighter spells. Overnight, not a great deal changes. We keep these areas of cloud across England and Wales in particular, clearer skies towards the northeast of the UK, and some showers here and there, especially for this time parts of Wales, Northern Ireland and the south and southwest. Now, where we've got those clear skies for Scotland and northern England, it's going to be a chilly start to the day on Wednesday with a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, otherwise milder where we've got the cloudier start for Wales and the southwest, as well as for Northern Ireland. Some showers to start the day here, and mostly the showers become confined to Pembrokeshire, the far southwest of England, Northern Ireland, and one or two into the east of England. A lot of cloud here, brighter skies for Scotland, although feeling a little bit colder.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Buckle up, Britain. It's going to be quite a ride. Votes are being cast and counts are gearing up in elections across the country. Everything could change. From the first result to the inevitable aftermath. We'll be across it all. Vote 2026, the people decide. From 11 p.m. Thursday night, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Does Chopper need a coffee?
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 5th of May. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Nana Akua.
Make no mistake, this crisis, it's a crisis for all of us. It is a test of our values. Values that aren't guaranteed. They are earned.
Breaking in the last hour, Sir Keir Starmer's crackdown on anti-Semitism intensifies as the Prime Minister pledges more support for Jewish communities across the country. He also had this stark warning for Iran and other countries inciting violence and anti-Semitism.
Our message to Iran or to any other country that might seek to foment violence, hatred or division in society is that it will not be tolerated.
Elsewhere, border disorder. Small boat migrant arrivals are on course to hit 200,000 since the crisis began. That's an equivalent to an illegal city the size of Norwich arriving since 2018. Nearly 900 more arrived over the weekend alone.
And it's a bit windy in the Channel at the moment, but the very latest from our producer down in Kent is that come Thursday and Friday, it's going to improve again, so we'll pass that 200,000 figure.
And from small boats to a very big boat, breaking news, a second British passenger has fallen ill on board the MV Hondius, with number 10 saying that the UK is working with the Dutch government on a medical evacuation. The WHO medics have boarded the ship following the hantavirus outbreak that has killed 3 people.
And Blair blasts net zero. Yes, Sir Tony says Britain risks falling behind global competitors like the US and China thanks to Ed Miliband's net zero drive. He says we must abandon our climate first, climate only approach in favour of cheap and reliable energy. Is he right?
McCann suspect extradition plan. Detectives push to bring Madeleine McCann's prime suspect to Britain and put him on trial 20 years after she went missing.
Very concerning news that we've learnt about the cruise ship in the last few minutes, that another British passenger is now suspected to have the virus, which does raise the question: is this now transmitting between humans rather than just from contact with the rat poo, as was originally reported?
Well, the incubation period for it is about 8 weeks, and that's what our health editor said. So, if there's an incubation period for 8 weeks, then I guess as perhaps they need to be put somewhere in quarantine to make sure that doesn't become a problem.
Well, you know the etymology of the word quarantine. It originally... No, this is relevant, Mark. Quite. I can see you sniggering in the corner there. The etymology of the word quarantine. Yes. It comes from Italian for 40. Because it was ships that were arriving in Venice at the time of the bubonic plague, where they had to sit in the harbour for 40 days before they could then dock and unload their goods and trade in Venice. And it became known as quarantine for the 40 days that the ships had to sit in the harbour before they contacted people.
Well, perhaps we should put you in it.
I'd rather know about rat pee, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
because that's what they do, in the crates and cellars and things like that. And on ships, because we have rats on ship, they're crawling over everything, they're peeing over everything. So that's where you're getting these diseases being spread. And the fact is, this crew might not have been human-to-human contact. It might just be the fact that lots of people have helped themselves to whatever drink, bottles or whatever the rat was crawling over and having a wee pee-pee.
Well, although they have done a sort of recce of the ship and checked and said there are no rats. Honestly. But they've also said that the crew, sorry, I just want to finish this. They also said that the crew did disembark in Argentina and there is a version of hantavirus that is quite prevalent there, so that could possibly also be the origin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it will have pee-peed in the cellars in Argentina then.
I like how the official term from Mark has to be pee-pee, because when you say we, it means little. But then again, that's just the language barrier.
my wee pal.
Yes. Anyway, no, but it's quite serious, really, because people are potentially dying of this virus.
I just had our producer Lewis in my ear say, let's not talk about Mark's wee pal.
OK. All right, but let's be... On all seriousness, it's quite...
OK,
it is a
right.
serious... Let me finish.
Yeah.
It's quite a serious situation because there are people who've died from this particular virus. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments. gbnews.com/your say. But first, your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom. At just gone 5 minutes past 2. The top story, Downing Street, says Sir Keir Starmer is determined to make Jewish people feel safe again in Britain. It follows a series of attacks on Jewish communities, including the Golders Green terror incident and recent arson attacks. At a summit on anti-Semitism in Number 10 this morning, the Prime Minister said this is not just a security issue, but a wider fight against hatred and extremism. He also issued a warning to Iran and any other country that attempts to fuel violence, division or anti-Semitism in Britain, saying it will not be tolerated.
Security is essential, but that is not enough. We must also deal with the forces that drive this hatred in the first place. So we're confronting them directly. One of the lines of inquiry is whether a foreign state has been behind some of these incidents. We're investigating, of course, all the possibilities. And we're clear that these actions will have consequences if that proves to be the case.
But senior police figures claim there's no time for political promises, and Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police Stephen Watson has insisted action has to be felt on the streets.
We, the police, together with all other authorities and all elements of civic life, need to do more to tackle the scourge of anti-Semitism and to reflect the fact that our Jewish neighbours and brethren are terribly fearful, and to the extent that they are fearful that they have a future in their own country. And that, for me, is an intolerable situation, and we need to do more to combat it.
Almost 900 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel since Friday, taking total arrivals to within just one boatload of 200,000 since the crisis began. It comes as this new footage appears to show French police taking a tougher approach on the beaches of northern France. The video shows officers slashing dinghies as they try to leave, a tactic French police have previously warned can be dangerous once boats are in the water. Charities and human rights groups, though, have criticised the approach, saying it could put lives at risk. But supporters argue stronger action is needed on the French side of the boats. A second British national has fallen ill on board the MV Honduras following a deadly hantavirus outbreak. 3 people have died, and a British man who tested positive for the virus remains critically ill in hospital in Johannesburg. The cruise ship is currently anchored off Cape Verde, where World Health Organization medics have now boarded the vessel. 2 crew members, one British and one Dutch, are described by the operator as needing urgent medical care. Number 10 has now said that the UK is working with the Dutch government on a medical evacuation, with the British crew member among those due to leave the ship. And Manchester Airport has been ranked the worst in the UK for flight delays. Analysis of the Civil Aviation Authority's data shows departures were delayed by an average of 19.5 minutes last year. That's longer than any other major UK airport, despite a slight improvement on the year before. Which Travel says passengers may struggle to book with confidence if performance does not improve. Manchester Airport says many delays are caused by issues beyond its control, including weather, air traffic control, disruption and restrictions over conflict zones. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more news in half an hour.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Fast approaching 10 minutes past 2. The markets for you. The pound will buy $1.35 and 1.15 euros. The price of gold is £3,554 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 10,596 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 2. Now, the small boats crisis is closing in on 200,000 crossings after another 800 arrivals this weekend.
Now, the milestone ramps up pressure on Sir Keir Starmer, with critics claiming that Labour has lost control of the borders.
Well, our very own Home and Security editor, Mark White, joins us with more. Mark.
Well, we are seeing windy conditions in the Channel today. Putting my meteorologist hat on. But in a couple of days' time, according to our producer down in Kent, who's full-time for us, by the way, we're the only channel that invests in a full-time producer monitoring the situation in the English Channel. And he has told me that we are likely to see conditions improve on Thursday, later on Thursday into Friday, pretty much perfect conditions. So that 200,000 figure will be passed and then some come the end of Friday. And 71,000, of course, of those that have arrived during Sir Keir Starmer's premiership. And this despite, of course, the Prime Minister saying that he was going to smash the gangs. Well, yes, there has been law enforcement activity. They have made arrests. They have disrupted supply lines. But the people smugglers will always adapt and overcome to ensure that what is a very, very lucrative trade for them continues.
Well, when he went to China, he said that he was going to deal with the engines, the boat engines. Do you remember? He did the deal, and that was a big deal. Do we know what happened with that?
Well, those engines are you know, pretty rubbish at the best of times anyway, and they are prone to breaking down in the middle of the Channel. The people smugglers, we're told, have been looking at trying to get alternative suppliers maybe away from China anyway, because they are being, you know, sort of led up the garden path by the engine suppliers who put stickers on, often saying that they are a more potent horsepower than they actually are, that there may be 40 or 50 horsepower when they're actually 25 horsepower. And as I say, they will break down because they struggle with 80 or 90 migrants on board to make any headway. And if the weather conditions aren't conducive to those crossings, then again, the engines fail. That's what we saw in the early hours of Sunday morning, we're told. An engine failure, a boat that ran aground, and 2 female migrants that died as a result.
It does seem ridiculous that the government has pursued trying to go to China to stop the engines for the boats or banning the... There's been proposals for banning the sale of... I mean, all of this nonsense that is trying to deal with the supply chain, when the problem is every single migrant aboard that boat that we can see on our screens now, and all 200,000 who've come over the course of the last few years, every single one of them knows that as long as they get set foot on this country, they have the absolute right to claim asylum, and they'll probably be granted it. Until that right is ended automatically for people that arrive by small boats, it doesn't matter how many deals we do with China or with Germany to stop the passage of these boats through their road system. I mean, it all just seems so ridiculous when ultimately the fact of the matter is people will continue trying to get to this country by whatever means necessary as long as they have that automatic right to claim asylum.
Well, for our TV viewers, as we look at these images of the French police at the weekend, it appears being a bit more robust, trying to slash the boats. I will just say that you've hit the nail on the head, Tom. My hat's off to you, because that is the biggest pull factor of all. The fact that 95% of those who cross and who have crossed since 2018 are still in the UK. Only 5% have been removed. So that's the biggest pull factor. They get here, they know that in all likelihood the odds are vastly in their favour that they'll still be here, because even if they fail the hurdle in terms of being granted asylum, what happens then is most are from countries where human rights lawyers can take it before a court and argue that you can't send them back to Eritrea even, or Sudan, or you can't send them back to Iran or Iraq or Syria or Afghanistan, you name it. So many different countries the Human Rights Brigade will say before often sympathetic judges who are in the immigration courts that these countries are too dangerous to send them back to, so they just get leave to remain anyway.
Well, even the boats that are being slashed, you had the charities complaining that these boats are being slashed in France and that these poor migrants.
Well, this is the ridiculous thing, I think, about these charities. They're there on the beaches giving all kinds of help and advice to these migrants. In a way that absolutely can be argued that all they're doing is enabling this illegal trade. Yet they get angry and upset with the French police and accuse them, when they're slashing the boats, of somehow endangering the lives of the migrants, even though it's ankle deep in water, where they are, by the same token, it seems, happy to just stand back and allow a trade and actually, enable a trade in the sense of the advice and the help that they give to the migrants prior to their departure, which is much more dangerous when they are in the Channel, in open water, in busy shipping lanes, heading towards the UK.
And of course, very quickly on that, and of course, what happens though if the camp is put near their house, they then suddenly become anti-migrant. I mean, it's shocking.
Yes, absolutely.
They do, don't they? As soon as that happens.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, it is absolutely shocking that this could be solved by a change in the law and saying that you can't claim asylum if you arrive by small boat. And yet what we have is hundreds of millions of pounds being spent on daring French police dashes to slash the boats, trying to stop the supply chains, doing all of the things apart from changing the fundamental pull factor.
Well, you know what might have changed things? And that would have been a deterrent, like the Rwanda deterrent, but that was scrapped on Sir Keir Starmer's first day in office. He decided it was a gimmick and wasn't worth pursuing. So it was never given a chance, despite the fact that many millions were invested in it and all of the legal battles were fought in the courts, to the extent where we'd just passed the last legal hurdle and it could be operationalised, but Labour never gave it a chance. And I honestly think that if they had gone with this plan or a similar plan and ensured that 100% of the boats crossing, the migrants crossing, over a set period, say from this date onwards, 100% of those crossing will be sent to a third country, Rwanda or elsewhere, if Rwanda is not acceptable. There is no business model. Exactly. No one in their right mind is going to pay thousands of pounds to illegal people smugglers if they're going to end up back in their home country or another country that they don't want to go to.
And you do need...
Greece and other countries like Italy are able, under the same framework and similar laws, to do something more than the UK. So why is our interpretation of... In Greece, they detain and keep the migrants held back? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think we are on that. I think our current government is much more determined to abide by the letter of international law at every step. We see it with the likes of the war in Iran and our involvement there. They take the legal advice and it's the ultra-cautious approach to that legal advice that they go for.
Mark White, thank you very much indeed. Well, when challenged on the matter, Housing Secretary Steve Reed blamed the previous Conservative government.
They like to pretend they're holier than thou on this issue. When their MPs were in government, they got it badly wrong and the crisis ran out of control. We are getting a grip on it. Is it fast enough? We want to go faster.
All right, well, let's move on. It's just gone 18 minutes after 2 o'clock and a second British passenger has fallen ill on board the MV Hondius, with number 10 saying that the UK is working with the Dutch government on a medical evacuation.
Yes, 3 people have already died and a British passenger remains in intensive care after this suspected hantavirus outbreak on board the cruise ship.
Well, and now, with the World Health Organization warning about transmission risks, medics have boarded the vessel as authorities scramble to contain the situation and support those on board.
Well, joining us now is the royal commentator who also works as an etiquette expert on luxury cruise ships, Grant Harrold. Grant, just how dangerous are cruise ships? Because they are a contained space where it does seem fairly often there are sort of outbreaks. None, thank goodness, so regularly and so deadly as this one. But my goodness me, some difficulties.
Absolutely, Tom. I mean, as you know, I'm on cruise ships quite a lot, and I've been there on many occasions when there's been viruses, and even from the common cold and flu to norovirus, all sorts. And I'll admit, I've had some of those viruses because I'm on the ship so often. I've picked up the viruses, so I know what it's like to be isolated. I know what they do. As soon as they can, they get you off. I mean, I've been medically discharged from a ship in the past, and what they do is they keep you away from the other passengers so that obviously you don't go and infect everyone else. But they are very strict about it. They take it very seriously. And of course, with this situation, that's why they're keeping everyone on the ship, because obviously the reality is better to keep it all self-contained and deal with it from within rather than start spreading this virus, which, as we've sadly seen in recent years, viruses can spread very quickly.
So, Grant, what's the protocol when something like that happens? Because I should imagine those individuals are being isolated. But what happens?
Yeah.
What do they do?
Basically, the captain makes an announcement and obviously informs us they're changing the procedures. And what the kind of things that change is, for example, face masks is certainly an option. They encourage you to even now, quite often, they still encourage you to wash your hands. I mean, washing the hands, as we learnt from the virus a few years ago, that was one of the big things that we had to do. And on cruise ships, they still encourage that. Anywhere you go, there's always hand sanitizers. There's always signs telling you to wash your hands. So it's they're very strict about that protocol already, but when there's a break, an outbreak of some kind, that they're even more stricter about it. But, they kind of keep you updated on a daily basis as well. From my memory, when there was norovirus on a ship, I remember we were told about it, we were kept updated about it, and they tried to, things still continue. There were still shows, there were still things happening, but at the same time, you get isolated if they have any suspicion that you have something, you're isolated to your room from 24 hours to a few days, and then maybe even disembarked if you don't improve, if it's safe to do so. So they're very strict about it, because the thing about cruise ships, it's a very small environment. Despite the thousands of people on there, they can be small environments, and all you need is for one person to get a cold, for example, and it's like wildfire. Everybody gets it.
It's like a prison cell on water, isn't it, really?
Can become that. Well, Grant Harrold, thanks indeed very much for explaining your experience and what might be going on there in the middle of the Atlantic.
All right, Grant, thank you very much. Well, a spokesperson for the UK Foreign Office said that we are closely monitoring reports of a potential hantavirus outbreak on the cruise ship Hondius and stand ready to support British nationals if needed. We are in touch with the cruise company and local authorities.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more still to come.
Detectives push to bring Madeleine McCann's prime suspect to Britain and put him on trial 20 years after she went missing. But after the break...
Sir Keir Starmer's crackdown on anti-Semitism intensifies as the Prime Minister pledges more support for Jewish communities across the country. He also had this stark warning for Iran and other countries inciting violence and anti-Semitism.
Our message to Iran, or to any other country that might seek to foment violence, hatred or division in society, is that it will not be tolerated.
Well, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Brave.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. 26 minutes after 2 o'clock. This is Good Afternoon, Britain. Now, counter-terrorism policing London are investigating an arson incident at a former synagogue in East London. GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters has been in East London for us, speaking to the president of the East London Central Synagogue, Leon Silver. Let's take a listen.
Leon, your reaction to this suspected arson attack this morning?
One of horror. The synagogue had been daubed once before, several months ago, but this is way beyond even that. I mean, it's absolutely shocking and deeply upsetting.
Leon, you said there was an incident several months ago. What can you tell me about that?
Well, there's a lot of... The building is empty. You know, part of the ceiling came down several years ago, so it is a closed synagogue, but it is still a synagogue. There's a lot of graffiti outside, but it was actually, ironically, not during the Gaza war, but after the ceasefire, the synagogue was daubed with paint, Free Palestine and Kill the Zionists. I reported it to the council, and to their credit, they immediately did have it removed. But now this.
And Leon, was there a police investigation when Kill the Zionists was written in red paint on the synagogue here?
Well, it was reported and logged. I don't really think there was actually an investigation.
You never heard from the Metropolitan Police at the time?
Not since, no, not concerning that.
And Leon, right now, I mean, this morning the Prime Minister hosted this anti-Semitism summit with police and society leaders, talking about there's going to be a bit more funding for security at Jewish sites, saying that they're going to clamp down on anti-Semitism. What do you make of the political reaction from the government in particular to this recent spate of anti-Semitic arson attacks and other incidents, the stabbing? Do you think enough is being done?
It's very difficult for me to say, but I would say no. Of course, funding is important for protection, but the real solving of the problem is education. It's communities getting to know each other, and it is cutting down on hate language. And there has been plenty of hate language. I've heard hate language along Commercial Road, and there have been demonstrations, not recently, but certainly a year or two ago, and people were certainly shouting out hateful things like "from the river to the sea," which is a call for extermination of the Jewish state. That's not political protest. That is calling for extermination, and that is a completely separate thing.
Well, let's speak to Charlie Peters now, who, of course, has been at the scene all day. Charlie, this is just the latest in such a long line of incidents.
That's right, Tom, and Leon Silver there referenced that incident in our interview, saying that this is part of a wide range of spates of attacks against Jewish people and Jewish sites across London now, not just North London, here as well now in East London as well. I have to say, being here for a number of hours, just from speaking to locals, perhaps it'll add to the realisation of why this is happening. Now, one man I spoke to who said he slept through the incident, but lives nearby, I won't use his name, when I was speaking to him, he says, I don't know why they've firebombed that building, because it's being turned into a mosque, appearing to suggest that if it was still a synagogue and not a mosque, then that would be in some way permissible, and then made some references to the right wing and then walked away. It was a very curious interaction, giving a bit of an insight, I think, into what Leon Silver is talking about, the permissiveness attitude towards anti-Semitism and an issue with education. Leon also talking about how he's been a part of the East London community here for decades, but no longer wears visible Jewish symbols when walking around. And he also said that not enough is being done to tackle anti-Semitism within the far left and Muslim communities as well. Well, witnesses here, I can tell you now, have told GB News that the Metropolitan Police are looking into two men who were seen about 5:10 this morning, setting off what is suspected to be an arson attack, minor damage to the gates and a lock outside the East London Central Synagogue. No injuries here. Counter-terrorism policing leading that investigation, but eyewitnesses speaking to the media here saying that two men were captured on CCTV, and of course the police investigation continues.
Charlie Peters, thank you so much.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more still to come on today's programme.
Yes, detectives push to bring Madeleine McCann's prime suspect to Britain and put him on trial 20 years after she went missing.
Well, all of that and much more to come after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 2:30, the top story. Sir Keir Starmer is warning Iran not to fuel hatred or violence on Britain's streets. At a Downing Street summit on anti-Semitism, he said recent attacks show the response has got to go beyond just guards, patrols and extra funding. He says the causes of anti-Jewish hatred now have to be tackled at source. A second British national has fallen ill on board a cruise ship anchored off Cape Verde after a deadly hantavirus outbreak. 3 people have died and another British man remains critically ill in hospital. Number 10 says the UK is working with Dutch officials on a medical evacuation. Iran has claimed clashes with the United States in the Gulf, prompted by American efforts to escort commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, show there's no military solution to the war. Tehran warned US forces will be dragged back into a quagmire. But last night, President Donald Trump said if any US ships are targeted, the Iranians will be blown off the face of the earth. Almost 900 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel since Friday, taking the total number of arrivals close to 200,000 since the crisis began. It comes as footage appears to show French police slashing dinghies as they attempt to leave northern France. Charities and human rights groups have criticised the tactic. And Manchester Airport's been ranked the worst in the UK for flight delays. Analysis shows departures were almost 20 minutes late on average last year. But the airport says delays are often caused by bad weather and wider global issues. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup at 3 o'clock with Sophia Wensler.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you, Sam. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Tony Blair blasts net zero again. Yes, so Tony says that Britain risks falling behind global competitors like the US and China thanks to Ed Miliband's net zero drive. He says we must abandon our climate-first, climate-only approach in favour of cheap and reliable energy. Is he right?
All of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A lot of dry weather today for many of us, a lot of cloud as well, and there will be showers in places, but nothing especially heavy or prolonged. Essentially, we're in between weather systems at the moment. Low pressure to one side, high pressure to the other, and as a result, a bit of a weak northerly wind, but these are light winds, and as a result, where the sun does come through, it's going to feel very pleasant, and there will be some sunny spells, especially towards the south of the UK, far north of Scotland, although in the north of Scotland, that's where the heaviest of the showers will be, and there'll be some season snow showers over the tops of the Scottish mountains because it is turning colder. But, well, like I say, where the sun comes through, it's going to feel pleasant enough with light winds. However, there will be a lot of cloud around. We keep that cloud as we go into the evening. Largely dry for southern counties of England, as well as for Wales, just the odd shower. We've got this line of showers through the day and into the evening across parts of the Midlands into northwest England, southwest Scotland. That's drifting slowly southwestwards. And then it's in the far north of Scotland where we've got the heaviest showers. But again, these will be on and off, very hit and miss, in between some brighter spells. Overnight, not a great deal changes. We keep these areas of cloud across England and Wales in particular, clearer skies towards the northeast of the UK, and some showers here and there, especially for this time parts of Wales, Northern Ireland and the south and southwest. Now, where we've got those clear skies for Scotland and northern England, it's going to be a chilly start to the day on Wednesday with a touch of frost in some sheltered spots, otherwise milder where we've got the cloudier start for Wales and the southwest as well as for Northern Ireland. Some showers to start the day here, and mostly the showers become confined to Pembrokeshire, the far southwest of England, Northern Ireland, and one or two into the east of England. A lot of cloud here, brighter skies for Scotland, although feeling a little bit colder.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M8 westbound between junctions 4A and 5, traffic is restricted due to emergency roadworks. In Lancashire, the M6 northbound between junctions 27 and 28 is affected by an incident with a vehicle off the road, closing a lane and causing 10 minutes delay. In Essex, the M11 southbound between junctions 10 and 8 has a broken down vehicle, causing a lane closure and a 20-minute delay. The M5 southbound entry slip at junction 22 in Somerset is closed due to a collision. And on the trains, there are major disruptions for Grand Central and Hull trains between Doncaster and Newark Northgate. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 37 minutes after 2 o'clock, and Tony Blair has argued that the UK and EU must abandon climate-first, climate-only approaches in favour of cheap and reliable energy.
Well, the former Prime Minister says that Britain is falling behind because of the rush to net zero under Ed Miliband.
Well, joining us now is the Chief Operating Officer of Energy Analyst IEA, Andy Mayer, and Senior Lecturer in the Climate Resilience and Adaptation, John Grant. John Grant, I'm going to start with you. So I think Tony Blair is echoing the sentiments of many, given the position that we are in currently. What do you think?
Well, it's just quite simply a narrow-minded short-term view. We have a chance here that as we go forwards, we have a sustainable future with pursuing this net zero. It's often termed like a goal unto itself, but what you get with this is all the ancillary advantages, all these extra advantages of being resilient to the future. We are in the pipe now. There are things changing environmentally, economically, and net zero can offer us jobs, cheaper bills, national security, as well as that sustainability. And it's just short-sighted.
John, I'm so sorry. We seem to have a little bit of a problem with your audio. Some words are getting through, but we'll try and clear that up for you. In the meantime, let's turn to Andy Mayer. Andy, John was saying that net zero programmes make us more resilient.
Well, it's a point of view, and it can be true. I mean, if you have low carbon power that's also firm power, like hydropower or nuclear power, then it can add an awful lot to energy security. The big argument in Britain and also in parts of Europe is an over-reliance and an over-interpretation of clean power, meaning renewables only. And that's the thing that Tony Blair has come out against, not just in the report today about Europe, but the one that was issued in February about the UK. And on that, he's absolutely right. I mean, what's happened is that we are incentivizing deploying as many renewables as possible to an artificial deadline of 2030. And that means they're going into the wrong places. We can't connect them to where the power is actually demanded. It takes no account of increasing demand for power from things like AI. And the result of all that is we have some of the most expensive energy, both in Europe and in the world.
And his point was that we end up being extremely uncompetitive and potentially doing more harm than good, unnecessarily.
Well, this is also true. I mean, the report today cites the US that has had a shale gas-driven affordability benefit, and China, which has used a combination of mostly coal and a bit of renewables as well to drive vast industrial growth. And the point he's making about Europe is that Europe is falling behind in industry and it's not playing to its own strength. And it won't be able to do that until it starts prioritising affordable power over clean power.
Andy, since 2008, this country, and frankly all of Europe as well, have had what economists call a productivity puzzle. We haven't seen significant growth. Meanwhile, other countries in other parts of the world have seen significant productivity growth. Do you think that a part of that productivity puzzle has been that 2008 wasn't just the Great Recession, it was also the year that we passed the Climate Change Act, locking future governments into climate budgets of 5-year time periods?
Well, I certainly think that, and I think this is where the Tony Blair report goes a little awry, because he's in his classic third way style, he's trying to say that we're going to have both. And if you have a net zero target with achieving net zero by 2050, then you will inevitably get a system of top-down, centrally planned outcomes of the type we've seen in Europe, which lower productivity.
But will you? Because, of course, China has signed up to net zero, I think, by 2055 or 2060. So it does have an arbitrary target in the future. Isn't the question about the glide path to get there? As Tony Blair is saying, for instance, in order to get to net zero, we need to electrify a hell of a lot more. We all need electric cars, ideally electric heating. I mean, lots of electricity is needed. And so if electricity prices are going up, not down, we're not going to be able to get to net zero because no one's adopting electricity. In fact, electricity use in the last 5 years has fallen, not grown, and it needs to massively grow. So isn't there a pro-net zero argument for what Tony Blair is saying?
Well, electrification doesn't depend on net zero. Electrification can be one of the consequences if you do move things like heating and transport onto an electricity basis rather than burning fuels. But the point that that report makes is that you should let demand drive electrification. So if there's heavy demand in the south of England, for example, for AI data centres, then building wind farms in Scotland, to which there is no interconnector between the two countries, or at least an insufficient one, is a really stupid thing to do. So the productivity puzzle that you're looking at is less about whether or not net zero and electrification and growth are compatible. There are circumstances where they are, but it's how you get to that sweet spot. And investing in firm power solutions is a wiser path than investing or over-investing in renewables in the wrong place.
And it also alludes to using old sort of techniques, for example. So Ed Miliband is talking about putting pylons all over the place. Well, there must be something, simply because where they've placed the wind farms or other things that require the pylons to transport the energy in places that, as you said, are not connected. So what do you make of that?
Well, I agree. I mean, it's just not a good idea to build pylons to wind farms in the south if they're not going to provide an adequate power supply for the needs of the people living in that area and the industries that used to be there. So, I mean, the pylons argument gets complicated because it overlaps with arguments about NIMBYism and people not wanting to build anything that looks unattractive near them. But underlying it is this idea that we can just do renewables and wait for something to turn up on the nuclear front. It would be smarter to delay.
Yeah.
On that point, let's bring John Grant back in, who I'm delighted to say we have found a stable audio connection to, Senior Lecturer in Climate Resilience and Adaptation. John Grant, what do you make of that point, that renewable energy is just less reliable than other forms of energy?
Well, I mean, we're on a development curve, that's absolutely true. And the good news is, of course, battery technology has come on a huge way. We don't necessarily need lithium anymore. We have these huge utility scale batteries that can deliver both heat as well as electricity. So, you know, this intermittency, not unreliability, but this intermittency with renewable energy can actually be dealt with. And, you know, we've been dealing with it for decades now, and we're only getting better at that. So although that's an issue, I'm not denying it, we can overcome those problems. And then it's in our country. So we've got that resilience that we can build this technology. And we've got some fantastic new technologies coming along, like tidal stream and things that have been developed in Scotland and other parts of our country, rather than importing them from elsewhere. So there is this sort of homegrown energy and this growth in jobs that we're getting here in the UK as well, rather than importing this stuff from abroad, you know, which, you know, does us well. But this battery technology it is changing the nature of renewables, I'm pleased to say.
Well, what about the damage to the environment? Because it seems to me that there's this health and other approach. So let's get to net zero, but you're prepared to put solar panels all over farms. So that's, of course, food security. You're prepared to, you know, pile on the place. You're prepared to put concrete places so people can charge their cars, because not everyone has, you know, a place to charge. And it sounds to me like net zero at the expense of the environment as well.
Well, it's a good point, but actually, you know, every car park can have a solar cover on it. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to concrete places. And it's entirely possible to grow food and put solar panels in agricultural land, if that's where you want to put it. You could put it on the roofs of giant sheds as well, which is great. So this agri-voltaics, or agriculture and solar power, which can then power solar-powered sort of tractors and stuff. And so it isn't just as binary as that. And at the end of the day, all I want is the same coverage of land as what we're currently covering with golf courses in terms of solar. So, you know, I know people don't want to do without their golf courses, but it's that sort of scale. So we've got to put this in context. To deliver sufficient solar power isn't covering our countryside. That is what anybody wants. We want a resilient and across-the-board technology that doesn't include fossil fuels, because, you know, there's a very serious problem going forward.
Well, I forgot to add wind farms killing all the birds. But listen, thank you very much. John Grant, really good to talk to you, and Andy Mayer, thank you very much.
Frankly, the birds had it coming. Well, this is good.
What do you mean? How awful? What do you mean by that?
More cats kill birds than wind farms. Like, significantly more birds are killed by cats, by pet cats.
OK, that's because there's more cats than there are wind farms.
But I'm talking like a crazy degree more birds are killed by cats.
At the rate of knots, and that's natural, but at the rate of knots, we're adding an extra thing that's killing animals when it's meant to be something that's good and good for the environment. I think that's terrible.
I think we shouldn't mind if the occasional bat is splattered by a train, and we shouldn't mind if the occasional bird is swamped by a
I'm not talking about bats and
turbine.
trains. I'm talking about the wind turbines, which I think are detrimental to many. Well, as long as you don't mind one next to your house making that humming noise, as long as you're happy with that, would you be all right with a wind turbine next to your house?
I don't think it would be the best form of land use, given I live in central London.
Would you be all right with that, then? Would you be all right with that humming and the turbine?
Well, I think it would be an insane form of land use. You should put them where land is cheap.
Well, OK, so let's imagine you didn't live in central London. You live somewhere where you could have a wind turbine. Would you have one?
I don't mind looking at them. I think they're quite elegant.
But having one next to your house?
What I wouldn't want is any subsidies going towards it.
Right, so you wouldn't want one next to your house. He's not answered the question.
No, I'm happy to live near one.
But not next to your house.
I wouldn't want to live underneath one.
Well, you could have one next to your house, Tom. Right, this is Good Afternoon Britain. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, indeed. Detectives push to bring Madeleine McCann's prime suspect to Britain, put him on trial 20 years after she went missing.
Well, but first, if you're a searcher for some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're heading to northern Italy or southern France, then expect some thunderstorms over the next few days. But for most of the Mediterranean, it's set to stay fair and dry and mostly sunny. Although temperatures will be a little bit below par for the time of year, it should still feel pleasantly warm in the sunshine across Portugal and Spain. We do run into those heavy showers, though, for the Balkans and particularly northern parts of Italy. But further south, many parts of Greece and Turkey will be turning increasingly dry over the next few days, with some sunshine around as well. And temperatures around average, so feeling warm in the sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, for competitors, the race will be difficult, of course, as it always is. But will it be difficult for Fiona Betts?
No, that's her. If you're watching on the television,
it's a massive helicopter.
She's in a helicopter.
Yeah.
If you're listening on the radio, they've sort of built a helicopter around her. At least her head is sticking out the top, and her legs out the bottom.
Yes.
But apparently, it gets very hot inside that.
28 marathons, and you only. What, am I right in thinking you only started running about 10 years or so ago?
Probably slightly under that, to be honest. When I had a bit more time on my hands, I think at the ripe old age of 47, I started to get into marathon running.
Now, we're looking at you now. You're wearing a yellow T-shirt, but behind you, there looks like a bit of a yellow helicopter. You're not in it, are you, at the moment? Can't quite see.
Not at the moment, no.
Right.
No. I've just rested on the bed behind me, but it looks like a duck when it's upside down for those people who can't.
Looks a bit weird.
So who do you raise money for with the helicopter?
So I'm supporting Air Ambulances UK, and they look after the 21 air ambulance charities across the UK, so Scotland, Wales, and all of the other independent charities that there are.
What made you think of even running, first of all, and then running as a helicopter? I mean, you were obviously inspired by watching the air ambulance, were you?
Absolutely. So I've enjoyed running because being out in the fresh air is really good for your mental health, makes you feel a lot better. And I thought it'd be really cool to be a world record holder and couldn't find a costume that I could run fast enough in. And then when I saw the air ambulance land and I checked to see if there was a record for a helicopter, there actually wasn't a female record. So 3 years ago, I attempted and set the Guinness World Record for the fastest 3D aircraft.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes to 3 o'clock, and the Metropolitan Police are seeking for the Madeleine McCann suspect, Christian Bruckner, to face a British trial.
Now it comes ahead of the 20th anniversary of Madeleine's disappearance next year.
The only thing that stands in their way is the German constitution, which prevents the extradition of its citizens to non-EU countries.
Well, joining us now is former police officer and counter-terrorism specialist Paul Birch. Now, Paul, talk to us about why it is important to try and get this suspect to the UK to face trial here.
Well, as you may be aware, the Metropolitan Police have established an investigation back in 2011, Operation Grange, and as I understand it, they've been working on that constantly ever since, amongst many other things, of course. So they would have amassed a fair bit of evidence by now. I think the leader or the head of the German investigation back in 2021 said that there was enough evidence to charge. Why they didn't, I don't. But the German constitution notwithstanding, I think the acknowledged expertise of specialist departments within the Metropolitan Police means that should he get extradited to the United Kingdom, he would face a fairer trial, a fair trial, and the evidence will be amassed and will be presented efficiently in an English court. Whether or not the German constitution comes into play, I don't think it would be a particularly good look necessarily for the German government to withdraw permission for this to take place, for the extradition to take place, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the German constitution has been amended 64 times. It's a pretty flexible document compared to some of the other constitutions around the world, and politicians can just decide to change it, which might be applicable in this circumstance. It might actually be useful to have an extradition treaty between Britain and Germany off the back of this. But crucially, Germany seems to treat its prisoners with a hell of a lot more rights than some of the other countries in this part of the world. Indeed, it treats its suspects with many, many more rights as well. It does seem that people are able to wriggle out of suspicion in that country more than in others.
Yes, I don't know. I'm no expert on the German legal codes, but I think when the deadline was drawing near for Bruckner to either to be charged or released under German law. And despite Mr. Volkner, I think it was, who said that they did have enough evidence to charge, that didn't take place. And so Mr. Bruckner is now at liberty and free to roam Germany, or as far as I can understand it, anywhere else he liked. So it does beg the question, why wasn't this done sooner? And it needs to be brought to a conclusion for the sake of the family and for the sake of justice as soon as possible. Whether the Germans acquiesce to this request, the Metropolitan Police has a very, very large legal team, a very large legal department. I've worked with them a few times in terrorist cases, and they have an awful lot of expertise at their fingertips. So they wouldn't be looking into this lightly. The fact that the German constitution says no doesn't necessarily mean it won't happen.
Paul, we'll have to leave it there, only for time reasons. Thank you very much, Paul Birch. He's a former police officer and counter-terrorism specialist. Thank you.
Well, we contacted the police, who said this: as part of the ongoing inquiries, we remain in close working discussion with policing colleagues in Germany and Portugal. We will continue to pursue any viable lines of inquiry.
Well, I've got to say thank you very much to all of you for watching. Good afternoon, Britain, but do not go anywhere. It's been a pleasure as ever. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. And Martin Torbley is up next after your weather. Enjoy.
Or no weather.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to split